The story begins inside a very tall corporate building, and in one of the offices, we see a tired-looking young man clicking away on his computer deep in thought. While at work, he ponders deeply about something strange that happened the day before and is pretty bothered because he has no idea what in the world it was or what it could have been. In a flashback, we get to see exactly what he's been thinking about. The previous night, he was having a light dinner when some kind of hologram popped up right in front of him out of nowhere. It startled him, but after staring at it for a few seconds, he realized that it was some kind of status window, which made him think that he was hallucinating or something. At first, he thought he was just seeing things, but even after a while, the status window didn't disappear, so his curiosity took over. On what appeared to be a shopping window, he noticed the option to purchase some canned tuna that cost 2 coins and clicked on it several times. However, nothing happened after multiple attempts, so it dawned on him that it didn't work because he didn't have any coins. Still puzzled by the whole thing, he also noticed another item in the options, which was a hammer for crushing zombie skulls. The weapon cost 5 coins. And it was a pretty strange thing to see since he had only ever seen a status window like it in Apocalypse webtoons. That's the idea that had popped up in his mind when it first happened, and even now in the office. That's exactly the same thing, making him unsettled. The protagonist finds it hard to believe, though, certain that he's not living in some kind of story from a novel. The mental argument goes on for him, making him wonder if he's starting to lose his mind from the exhaustion. Just then, Song is finally drawn out of his thoughts when his superior storms into the office yelling his name in annoyance. The furious man slams the door behind him and immediately starts beating the MC for spacing out yet again. At this point, Song is still in a daze, and it's only until the boss taps his hand that he finally regains consciousness completely. The man tells him to focus and immediately starts demanding answers for a job he passed to him the week before. Apparently, the MC didn't handle it properly, so now his boss is getting a call from the Hanbiel Trading Company. Just when it looks like the boss is about to go off like a bomb, Song explains that the Hanbiel Trading Company failed to prepare the documents properly, which required a re-examination to be conducted. Clearly, this isn't the first time the boss is behaving this way, because the MC doesn't look surprised at all. It turns out that this angry man has failed to get a promotion twice due to his own incompetence, and now he's here again, throwing another tantrum for everyone to see. As you can imagine, the man doesn't appreciate Song's tone, even though he didn't say anything wrong, so takes it personal, feeling that the MC is talking back to him rudely. Just when it looks like the situation is about to get out of hand, a lady calls out to the manager. The gorgeous woman offers him some kind of drink, telling him to calm down, and the moment he turns to look at her again, all the rage vanishes from his body. It's pretty obvious that he has a thing for this lady, Miss Song, so he immediately rushes over to her, assuring her that he's definitely going to let Song off the hook for her sake. All of a sudden, the manager starts to get all touchy with her, probably misinterpreting her intentions. He asks her out to dinner after work, suggesting that some grilled intestines and soju would be a nice meal to end the day. But the lady wasn't even thinking in that direction at all. She's starting to get visibly uncomfortable, especially since he says it would be a shame for her to go straight home when she's dressed so nicely. At this point, they're no longer on the same page, but she doesn't want to upset him, so she politely declines the invitation, explaining that she has other plans later. Thankfully, the manager doesn't get mad at her for it. He's just surprised, but since it can't be helped, he lets her off, suggesting that they grab a drink sometime later. The man leaves the office right after that, and the moment he's gone, both Song and Miss Sion sigh in relief. Clearly, they're already used to the manager's annoying behavior, and while some still don't know how to handle it, others have obviously mastered the art. Knowing how much trouble he was able to face, the MC thanks her for helping him out, and she just smiles softly in response. Later that day, it's time for Song's break, but he's so tired already that he just wants to go home. At the moment, he's taking a smoke outside to relax and recalling the scene from earlier. He's not ready to go back into the office right now since his annoying manager Cho is still in there. As frustrating as the job is, Song remains aware that it's pretty difficult to get a new one these days. As such, he knows that he just has to endure it even if it's tough. After all, this is still one of the largest corporations around. While thinking about this, the thought of Miss Sion crosses his mind, and he figures that it wouldn't be a bad idea to get her a coffee later. As if she read his mind, the lady in question suddenly pops up right beside him, acting surprised to see him there on the rooftop. Song, on the other hand, is actually surprised to see her, so he asks her what she came to do here, since he knows that she doesn't even smoke. In response, she just sighs first before admitting that she came up there just to get away from the manager. Apparently, a client disappeared without paying their bill, and now Cho is taking out his frustration on everyone in the office. finding fault with every single person in there. Miss Sion, wasn't ready to be one of the scapegoats, so she snuck out before he could get to her desk. The MC is amused to hear this and simply commends her for making a good escape. At this point, the lady feels comfortable enough to start ranting about how the manager makes her feel. It turns out that he keeps asking to eat out with her when he's not even paying, but the most annoying part for her is how he subtly tries to touch her every chance he gets. Suddenly, she stops mid-rant and starts talking about how cold it is today, but Song can't relate because he actually thought that it was pretty cool for a summer day. However, she does agree with him because the temperature seems abnormal to her. So much so that she even has goosebumps right now despite wearing long sleeves. He's surprised when she suddenly rolls up her sleeves to show him, but then he just teases her for being really sensitive to the cold since he doesn't feel anything. The lady starts to get a little worked up when she sees that he doesn't believe her, so she takes out her phone to show him a video that would change his mind. Determined to prove her point, shoves her phone in his face and shows him a strange video of snow falling in Africa. As you already know, that's definitely not normal, so the MC isn't completely sure that it's real. He expresses his shock and the lady agrees with him because it is indeed strange. At this point, Song believes that there's something seriously wrong going on, and while he's still saying this, Ah's phone starts buzzing from a new notification. They quickly check the phone and are surprised to see a cold wave advisory being announced. That doesn't make any sense because they're in the summer and the MC begins to wonder if the meteorological agency got hacked or something. They're still trying to wrap their heads around the first message when a second emergency alert comes in. Apparently, the cold wave warning has been issued due to a rapid drop in temperature, so now, all civilians are being advised to prepare thoroughly for colds and other illnesses that could result from this sudden temperature drop. They both stare at the phone screen in bemusement, and because of how strange the whole thing is, they conclude that it has to be some kind of error. As far as Jin Seong is concerned, it doesn't even make sense to joke about having a cold wave warning in the middle of June. However, while he's still trying to make this point, a tiny snowflake suddenly falls on his hand and even starts to feel even colder in that moment. Puzzled by this, they both look up at the sky and are absolutely stunned to see that it's actually snowing already. It turns out that the cold wave is coming a lot faster than they could have imagined. It only takes a few hours for all the rooftops to be covered in snow. And even though it's been going on for a while now, the MC still can't wrap his head around the whole thing. He stands out on the balcony with a cup of hot coffee in hand as he struggles to make sense of the situation. It's literally snowing heavily in the summer, which makes no sense to him. It's almost as if the world has gone completely insane. Despite warning himself with a cigarette and some coffee, it's still absolutely freezing to him, and it's clearly colder than it was when was there with him. Looking down at the heaps of snow on the roads, he can already tell that the traffic this night would be on another level, so he figures that it would be wise to pack up and head home right away. With this in mind, Song makes his way to the elevator, but after trying to open the door for a while, nothing happens. Of course, this leaves him puzzled and wondering if the elevator is broken or something. He's still trying to figure out what's wrong when a freezing gust of wind hits him in a flash. The cold seeps into his body instantly, so he starts shivering even more. Now, he's even more desperate to get home quickly to go warm himself, so rather than wasting any more time at the elevator, he makes his way down the stairs. With everything going on now, he still can't help but feel very bothered about that strange status window that popped up in front of him the day before. He clearly needs answers, but right now, the most important thing is finding a way to deal with this strange cold weather. By the time he reaches the bottom floor, he notices that the elevator doors are closing, which means that someone just used it. Now, he's sure that it wasn't broken, but upon getting closer, he hears the machine opening and closing the doors rapidly, which makes him feel that someone might be holding the elevator door. That's what he thought at first, but it still doesn't make much sense because it's way too quiet. If someone was holding the door, then there would at least be some kind of noise around. At this point, the most logical explanation is an elevator malfunction, but our MC is about to witness some even more strange stuff. In the blink of an eye, all the lights go out and Jin Seong is suddenly surrounded by pitch black darkness. Seeing that there's just been a blackout, our MC begins to get pretty nervous and a lot more desperate to get the hell out of the building. He knows that this is not a good situation, so he decides to forget about packing up. He makes up his mind to just leave, but then all of a sudden, he's startled by an ominous sound of metal scraping in the distance. Song can barely see anything, and now there's a strange sound coming from the darkness, so he's really creeped out. His pupils dilate as he carefully makes his way to the dark office to get his stuff, and that's when he gets even more freaked out. The place is completely deserted, almost like everyone left already, which is pretty strange. He could have sworn that a few people were still in there when he went up to the roof, so the current situation makes him even more nervous. Besides that fact that there's no one else around, he's also very creeped out by the sudden darkness. As he slowly moves along the office, he notices how messy the place is, which is very unusual. It's as if everyone else fled in a hurry, so now, Jin Song is sure that there's a problem. Desperate to calm himself down, he calls out into the darkness, asking if anyone else is there. Of course, there's no response, and that's when that creepy metal scraping sound continues. Jin Song's adrenaline levels spike and he immediately gets into flight mode. Bro quickly takes his backpack and starts to make his way out of the building, knowing that he definitely needs to move as fast as he can. Just as he's about to make a run for it, he senses an ominous figure behind him. He can't see it yet, but there's a zombie-shaped shadow right behind him that's already sending chills running down his spine. Our boy doesn't even bother turning to look at it, he just shuffles ahead to increase his pace. He can clearly sense that there's something terrible lurking in the meeting room ahead, and he's not too keen on seeing it for himself, so he continues on his quest to escape, but then all of a sudden, he steps on something. Jin Song looks down to see the ID card he just stepped on and it's covered in blood. He picks it up and sees that it belongs to one of his colleagues, Kim Hyun-sok. Of course, he's very puzzled as to why it's covered in blood and whose blood it even is. Seeing the trail of blood leaves the MC frozen in shock, wondering what on earth happened in the place. Curious for answers, he decides to quietly follow the trail till he gets to the window of the meeting room. There, he peeks through the blinds and is absolutely mortified when he sees one of his colleagues feasting on the other. They're both covered in blood, which overwhelms Jin Song a bit. The guy is too shaken to even move, and in that split second, the zombie senses his presence and makes eye contact with him. The moment they lock eyes, our boy finally snaps out of his trance, but it's too late because now, the blood-thirsty creature is completely focused on him. The zombie stands up and in the blink of an eye, our boy finds himself standing face to face with the monster. He's extremely terrified now, but the shock keeps his feet tethered to the ground for a while. Thankfully, this quickly changes when the zombie attacks him. As soon as the creature charges at him, Jin Song turns on the jets and starts running for his life. At first, he didn't know exactly what was going on, but now that he's trying to escape death, it becomes pretty clear to him that this might actually be a real zombie. Bro realizes that he's not winning this race, so just as he enters the office, his eyes lock in one of the chairs. At this point, he decides to fight back by grabbing the office chair. With all the power he can muster, he lifts the chair and hurls it at the zombie. He's hopeful that this would at least slow the monster down even if it doesn't kill it, and thankfully, it works. With the zombie now a little occupied with the pain, the MC slams the door before the zombie can get to him, and this seems to have bought him some time because the blood-thirsty monster bangs on the door for a few seconds before stopping. Eventually, the zombie decides to walk away, and when our guy realizes that it's no longer trying to get him, he decides to let his guard down by quietly sitting on the floor to rest for a bit. It's obvious that it was definitely a zombie just now, and this is further confirmed when his phone buzzes in his pocket. He takes it out to see the notification of an emergency alert. Apparently, there is an infection suspected to be a variant of the rabies virus spreading rapidly throughout downtown Seoul. All citizens are being advised to refrain from going outside as much as possible and wait indoors for instructions from the government. As you can imagine, the most baffling thing he picked out from the entire message was the fact that this is a rabies outbreak. He just holds his head in confusion and annoyance as he reads the message, because it sounds like a load of shit as far as he's concerned. I mean, you can't blame him for feeling this way. After what he just faced, he's definitely sure that this doesn't have anything to do with rabies. He's certain that it was definitely a zombie, and the fact that people think otherwise makes him wonder what on earth is really going on. Determined to find answers, he goes through the comment section and reads similar encounters from other people. One guy just saw an old man ramming his head into the wall, and another even got bit a while ago. Sadly, some clueless people on the chat seem to have been bit already, but they don't even know what's about to go down. Seeing all of these messages, Jin Song realizes that the chaos is everywhere, so he begins to wonder if all of this has something to do with that status window from yesterday. With this in mind, he tries to search for answers, but he doesn't find any information related to floating status windows. Clearly, that's a dead end, so he ponders on it, thinking of what to do next, but then all of a sudden, his phone screen gets scrambled. At first, he's confused, but then the whole page goes blank, confirming that the connection has been lost. Once again, he starts to panic because he has no idea what he's supposed to do now that there's no signal. Jin Song is overwhelmed and tired of the whole situation, and to make matters worse, the chilling weather is still an issue. The MC is feeling extremely cold, and he's afraid that he's going to freeze to death before the zombies find him if things continue at this rate. At first, he curled up on the floor for a while, hoping it would help warm him up, but that didn't work, so now he needs a new plan to ensure that he doesn't turn into an ice cube or worse. Right now, his priority is to hold out somehow until a rescue team arrives or something. His phone's battery is at 83%, so he's confident that it could last him 2 days at least if he conserves it well enough. With this in mind, he turns on his flashlight and musters enough courage to climb back up the stairs. Once he's on the upper floor, he scans the area with his torch, but he doesn't see anyone. There's no sign of life around, so he figures that this is a good place to lay low for some time. Our boy already knows that he's going to be stuck in this place for the next couple hours or even days, and if that's the case, then he's going to need something to eat. He desperately wishes there were snacks somewhere in the office, or even some clothes he could use to warm himself up, and just like that, the search begins. He rummages through all the drawers he can access, and he's lucky enough to find a long-sleeve shirt tucked away in one of them. Now that he's gotten some better clothes, the next thing on his agenda is food, so the search continues, and after a while, he is delighted to discover a bag with food, water, and even a blanket in it. It's almost like it was placed there for him, and even though he doesn't know who the owner is, he's deeply grateful to them. Now that he's sorted those two problems out, he goes to the next thing on the list, which is a means of protection. He needs something to use as a weapon in case the zombies come for him, so starts looking and is once again lucky enough to find a golf bag with several clubs in it. Jin Song grins widely when he finds it in the closet because he never imagined that his annoying managing director would ever be of help to him. Our boy retrieves all the stuff he found and wraps himself in the blanket. Of course, he's relieved to have gotten them now, but he's not sure if it's going to be enough to help him survive the next 3 days. It's clear that the real problem is whether the rescue team can even arrive by then. He looks out the window as the snowstorm rages on and begins to worry again. The roads are completely overrun by hordes of zombies, and this blizzard is so bad that it won't be easy for a helicopter to come for a rescue. Right now, Jin Song is afraid that a week might even pass without anyone coming to save him. To make matters worse for him, it's getting even colder despite covering himself up with the blanket. He's shivering seriously, and it's only a matter of time before he chips his teeth with the way they're smashing against each other. Bro brings up the status window again and stares longingly at the page with the winter clothes there. He's desperate for them, but he can't afford it, and he has no idea how he can even get coins. His situation is looking pretty bleak right now, and he's truly afraid that he might not make it, so he just sits there in silence. Jin Song sits in the stairway waiting for help, but just when he thinks he's about to get a little peace, he hears footsteps approaching. Without any hesitation, he shoots up from the floor and grabs one of the golf clubs, determined to protect himself no matter what. He braces himself for what's to come, and all of a sudden, the footsteps become a lot louder and faster, as if the zombie is charging at him. The door bursts open in a flash and our boy takes a mighty swing, but just when he's about to land the hit, he realizes that it wasn't actually a zombie, it's his colleague. The guy introduces himself as Kim Ju, Manager Choi's replacement from the sales department, and the MC immediately recognizes him. He's heard about how annoying the guy is, but right now is not the time you get into that. The two get back to hiding and Kim tells Jin Song where he's been. The guy was in the break room when he suddenly heard loud banging on the door from outside, so he quickly locked the door from the inside early enough. Hearing this, Jin Song is curious as to how he got out and made it to this point without being taken down by the zombies. In response, the guy admits that he just burst through the door and ran through all the zombies in his path till he got to the emergency exit. At this point, our boy can tell that this guy is just trying to brag about his strength because nothing he's said so far has been useful. As if being useless isn't enough, Kim is now also about to be a liability because he suddenly starts complaining about hunger, asking Jin Song if he has any food. The food he has is barely enough for him, so he doesn't have any plans to share it with this annoying guy. He bluntly tells Kim that he doesn't have any food, but the guy doesn't believe him at first. Even though the MC isn't going to share his emergency rations, he doesn't mind giving the guy some water. I mean, he's not completely heartless. Anyway, he takes out the can of water and hands it to Kim, who thanks him for it. At this point, you'd think the guy would just take the water and be grateful, but that's not the case. All of a sudden, Kim grabs Jin Song's arm very firmly, and with a twisted look in his eyes, he asks our guy once again if he really doesn't have any food. Now, the MC can clearly see that there's something strange going on with Kim, so he knows that he has to be very careful. While getting the water, Jin Song notes something unsettling about the guy. At first, he thought that Kim was sweating because he had been running, but the guy has been dripping with sweat the whole time, even though it's freezing. Our boy feels that he might just be feeling too paranoid, but just as the thought crosses his mind, Kim suddenly lunges at him like a madman. Thankfully, he's quick enough to notice it, so slams him in the face with the water flask. He disorients Kim with the hit, lands a powerful kick to the side and sends him crashing into the wall. At this point, Jin Song has his golf club in hand, ready to strike because he's clearly facing a zombie now. Kim was fine just a moment ago, but now, the guy is foaming at the mouth and growling at him with crazy eyes. As much as our boy hates to have to do this, he also knows that he doesn't have much of a choice. If he doesn't take out the zombie, his own life will be in danger, so without any hesitation, he buries the golf club in the zombie's head. This is no longer his colleague Kim. It's now a bloodthirsty zombie ready to infect him, so he can't let that happen. Jin Song pummels the zombie until the whole place is covered in blood. He lands repeated blows to the head till it stops moving. At this point, it's clearly dead, so he can finally take a breather. The MC takes a moment to catch his breath, and then all of a sudden, he sees a status window appear right in front of him. It's a notification confirming that he just earned 1 coin. As you can imagine, he's taken aback by this because he has no idea what the hell is going on. After pondering over it for a while, it finally starts to make sense to him. The only place he's seen anything about coins was on the shopping window. So, he pulls up the shop to confirm, and sure enough, he sees several items that can be purchased with coins. Right now, he has 1 coin, so he can't really afford anything since most of the items cost more than that, including the winter clothes he so desperately needs. Seeing all of this, Jin Song begins to understand what exactly is going on. He realizes that he's probably going to get 1 coin each time he deals with a zombie, and frankly, that's quite disappointing to him. He literally just risked his life to fight and survive that, so he's pretty pissed that all he got was 1 coin. It's a really tough system, as he can already tell, and just thinking about it exhausts him. Jin Song simply falls to his knees, thinking about what his fate is, and that's when he spots something intriguing on the zombie. The MC notices the throbbing bite mark on the decreased Kim's arm and just sighs as the reality dawns on him. Kim probably got bit while trying to run through the zombies in the building, and he clearly didn't even know he had been bit. Our guy can't blame the guy for not even knowing, since he looked completely fine when they first met. It's really crazy that one can already be infected and have no idea. So with this in mind, Jin Song decides that he can't trust anyone by their appearance moving forward. The MC makes his way back to one of the offices to have a smoke and relax a little. While he's at it, he can't help but notice how good this cigarette he found earlier is. He remembers finding it when he was rummaging around the building for useful stuff, and he's really glad he did, because it's the only small comfort he has in this crappy situation. After some time, Jin Song figures that he should probably start moving back to his hiding spot soon if he doesn't find any other useful stuff. Just as he's thinking about this, a loud screech disrupts his thoughts. So he looks out the window to see what's going on outside, and that's when he sees the sea of zombies flooding the streets. There are only a few people who haven't been infected yet, but with the hordes swarming them, it's only a matter of time. Some of them try to fight back with weapons and whatever they can get their hands on, while others just succumb and accept their fate. Sadly, in a situation like this, there's really no use fighting, and the last man standing learns this the hard way. The zombies devour him in a flash, and all that's left of him is a bloody corpse. Well, that's before his transformation begins. Our guy watches the horrific scenes down there from the building, and he's truly shaken by it. It's so disturbing to him, but more importantly, it makes him understand just how screwed he is. As if the endless waves of zombies aren't enough, the snowstorm refuses to end as well. The blizzard rages on throughout the night, and our exhausted protagonist decides to just lie down and hope for the best. By the 3rd day, there's still no sign of any rescue team coming to save him, and it's not getting any warmer either. On top of that, his phone battery is now at 3%, which means that he's about to be really hopeless in a while. From the look on his face, you can tell that he doesn't really have high hopes anymore. All he has left with him now is 1 bag of snacks and 4 chocolate bars. As you can imagine, the last 3 days have been really frustrating for him. He's spent most of his time just staring out the window to conserve as much energy as possible. During that time, he saw several people attempting to escape from the zombies, and of course, every single one of them turned into a zombie in the end. Seeing such things can really kill a man's hope, and some might even lose the will to fight or keep living. However, that's not the case for our hero. Despite seeing how the efforts of others ended in futility, Jin Song has come to the conclusion that he has to get moving. As far as he's concerned, there's really nothing else he can do if he wants to live. Sure, it's safer inside the building, but staying here like this will only bring him closer to death with each passing day. He decides that he can't keep hiding in one spot staring out the window till death comes for him, so first, he intends to find some trustworthy survivors within the building. Jin Song still believes that there are others like him and that his best shot is finding them. So, with the little energy left in him, he clears out the barricade in front of the office door, prepared to finally walk out. The MC is definitely afraid, but he knows that this is what he has to do. He must find the others and combine forces with them to get out of this building. For now, his main objective is the 6th floor. This is where he wants to begin his search, and to do that, he needs to check if the entrance is blocked like Kimju Man said it was. For the first time in days, Jin Song opens the door to walk out, and the moment he does it, something shocking happens. All of a sudden, the power is restored and all the light bulbs come back on. As soon as he sees this, he doesn't even waste a second before running back into the office window to check if it's still snowing. Sadly, when he gets there, he's disappointed to see that the blizzard is still very much there. He looks out and sees that all the other buildings don't have any power. It's still very dark outside, but the lights in the building are on, so this can only mean one thing. Jin Song got his hopes for a second there, but the lights inside are still on, which means that someone must have turned on the emergency generator. The last time he checked, zombies aren't exactly cut out for stuff like that, so he is convinced that there's another survivor in the building. This is exactly what he's been praying for, and now he has a chance to join forces with someone else, so he dashes out of the room to begin his search. The MC takes all the stuff he needs with him and makes his way to the stairs once again. He knows that he needs to be quick about this little mission, because the lights could go out at any moment, and he wouldn't want to be in the zombies' territory when that happens. With this in mind, he resolves to find the others before the lights go out and makes his way down the stairs. Jin Song believes that the survivor is likely located in either the management office or the security office, since those guys are the ones with access to the generators. The thing is, both of those offices are on the 1st floor, so he'd have to go down a couple stairs, but it's a relief for him. On the way down, he notices that something is going on with his shoes. As much as it's keeping his feet warm, he knows that he can't risk attracting the zombies with the noise, so he takes off his shoes and continues the journey in socks. Our guy is determined to make it out alive, and he no longer cares what it's going to take in order to achieve this. Soon, he arrives on the 6th floor. Right now, he's pressed for time and needs to find the other survivor before the backup generator fails, but he also needs to check if the emergency exit is truly blocked. So, Jin Song takes a quick stop on the 6th floor to check for it. Our boy stealthily moves around there and eventually gets to the exit, and just like Kim said, it's blocked indeed. Now that he's done with that, he needs to get back to finding the other survivors in the building. That's the most urgent thing right now, so the emergency exit can wait for now since he's confirmed that it's blocked. Not long after that little detour, the MC finally reaches the 1st floor, and upon getting there, he notices that everything still seems normal. It doesn't look like the zombies from outside have been able to break in yet, and that's a good sign. However, considering the usual foot traffic in the lobby, there's a high chance that zombies are roaming about. He listens carefully, but doesn't hear any noise, so he attempts to open the door and is relieved to see that it's not locked. Jin Song opens the door slightly to take a peek, and sure enough, he finds numerous signs to confirm the zombies' presence. There are blood stains all over the place, and he even sees a few of the undead patrolling the area. On looking closer some more, he sees many others roaming about like it's some twisted Halloween party. He's astounded by how many there are and starts to feel that this might even be the entire horde of zombies. Just as he expected, it's practically impossible to escape the building at the moment. There are just way too many zombies in the way. Still, he's glad that the zombies from outside haven't gotten in yet, because that would just make the situation a lot worse for him. Sadly, with the way things are going, it's only a matter of time before those front doors come down. The multitude of zombies outside seem to be looking for a way in, and if the population goes any higher, then they'll definitely break in. As such, he knows that he just has to move fast, so that's exactly what he does. He runs past the lobby when all the zombies aren't looking and successfully reaches the management office. On getting there, he's once again met with a sad discovery. He looks into the office only to find a frozen man. He clearly froze to death due to the cold, and Jin is heartbroken when he sees this, because this man was the one who greeted him every morning. Sadly, now he's gone. Jin had always heard how people who die from hypothermia paradoxically remove their clothes, but he never thought he'd see it for himself. There's nothing he can do to help the deceased man now, so all he can do is pay his last respects. He covers the man's eyes shut and prays for him to rest in peace. There's no point staying here and risking getting caught by the zombies. The generators are also likely to fail at any moment, so Jin gets a move on. He hurries down to the other parts of the 1st floor in search of the other survivors. Clearly, nobody in the maintenance room survived this apparent Ice Age apocalypse, so the only place left to check is the security office. The MC arrives in front of the door and just stands there, desperately hoping that he finds a living person in there. As much as he wants to meet with the other survivors, he's also afraid of how they might react to his sudden appearance. Jin fears that they might have set up traps to prepare for intruders, just like how he would set up a barricade if he was in their position. With this in mind, The MC figures that the only way to avoid getting attacked is to let them know that he's not a zombie or a hostile beforehand. The best way to do that right now is to avoid startling them by making any sudden noises. Unfortunately, that's going to be very difficult because any sound he makes right now will probably attract the zombies. Speaking of zombies, some of them are coming his way for some reason. They mindlessly stagger in his direction, making him a lot more nervous. He needs to think fast if he wants to survive this because these creatures aren't exactly easy to defeat. He knows this all too well since he's spent the last 3 days watching them devour civilians like him who tried to be brave. They might have terrible eyesight, but their sense of hearing is extremely sharp, so he has to be very careful. Our guy starts knocking on the door as quietly as he can, hoping that the survivor in there would recognize that he's human and let him in. But that might not work. And on top of that, the low knocking sounds seem to be attracting the zombies to him. Jin starts sweating a lot and eventually decides to take the risk. He can't wait for those inside to open the door anymore, because he's literally a sitting duck out here. Now, he's made his presence known, so he musters all the courage he can to open the door, hoping that he doesn't get attacked by those inside. So, he slowly reaches for the door and opens it as quietly as he can, but he's suddenly met with a big shock when he does this. Jin Song sighs nervously after knocking a few times on the door. Right now, he's not sure what to expect, but he's hoping that everything will be fine if he just opens the door carefully. With this in mind, he slowly opens the door and in the blink of an eye, he's met with a surprise attack. Apparently, the person inside has been waiting for him to make a move. The man tries to hit the main character with a stick, but our guy is quick enough to block the attack with his golf club. On one hand, he just managed to avoid taking a blow to the face, but on the other hand, the noise created by the impact is so loud that it draws the attention of the zombies lurking around. At this point, both Jin and the other survivor are nervous and terrified because they know just how sensitive the creatures are to sound. Right now, they have only a few seconds to decide what their next move is if they don't want to become zombie food. So, in that split second, the survivor decides not to throw Jin under the bus. Rather than pushing him back out for the monsters to devour, the man drags our guy into the room and locks the door behind him. All of this happens so fast that Jin Song gets pretty confused for a second. After locking the door, the man turns to the MC with an inquisitive look in his eyes. For a few seconds, neither of them say anything. They just stare at each other with their guards up, mentally prepared for anything that happens. Jin finally interrupts the heated staring contest by asking the man with the stick if he's still human, which he confirms before asking the MC the same question. Our protagonist reveals that he's also human, but the other guy doesn't seem to be convinced yet. He still doesn't believe Jin, and you can't blame him for being this skeptical. Seeing this, Jin tries to explain and make the guy understand that they're on the same side. He reveals that he came all this way since the emergency generator suddenly came on because he thought that there might be another survivor. He attempts to go closer, but the N refuses to let his guard down. At this point, Song finally introduces himself as the assistant manager from Sales Team 2, hoping that this would ring a bell. He even shows the man his ID card as proof, but deep down, he's not even sure he can trust the guy. Sure, he's finally found another survivor, but what if the man is infected just like Kim Joo-man? Anyway, after seeing the ID card, the other guy calms down a little and equally introduces himself. Apparently, this is Choi Jae-sung, the development team assistant manager. At the moment, Choi is still covering himself with a big blanket, which is most likely because of the cold weather, but Song can't help but find this suspicious. If Choi wanted to, he could easily hide his own zombie bite by covering it with the blanket. Sure, this is a possibility, but the MC also notices that Choi isn't sweating like Kim Joo-man was. In fact, he looks cold. The man looks pretty chill and well-fed, which makes Song wonder if the guy stopped by the break room at some point, especially since there's a full bag pack sitting in the corner. All those who were infected by the zombies showed an abnormal level of hunger. So, the fact that Choi has enough reason to control himself means that he actually isn't infected. With this in mind, Jin Song concludes that this guy is safe to be around, so he lowers his golf club and attempts to talk to the man. But of course, that's not exactly going to be easy since Choi still doesn't trust him enough for that. He tries to move closer, but the man uses his stick to create some distance between them. Apparently, Choi noticed him looking at the bag and thinks that Jim Seong is trying to steal it. Choi Jae-sung points the stick at our guy while shielding his bag, and Jin realizes that he might have made things worse. Obviously, he wasn't interested in the bag, but Choi is way too paranoid to realize this, so now, the MC needs to figure out a way to fix this. Things could get really bad from here if he doesn't lighten the mood right now. He can't make Choi trust him completely in a heartbeat, but the easiest way to show that he isn't a threat is to put his weapon away, so he slowly returns the gold club to the bag, hoping that would work. He lifts his hands in surrender. thinking this would calm Choi down, but the man keeps staring at him with the same look in his eyes. At this point, our guy isn't sure what to try anymore because he actually thought this move would be enough. Just then, an idea pops up in his mind. Whenever things got difficult at work, they used to smoke together to take the edge off, and knowing how stressed out Choi must be after being cooked up in here for days, he contemplates offering the guy a cigarette. With this in mind, he slowly reaches into his pocket to get it out, and of course, Choi finds this very suspicious. The guy watches his movements closely, ready to swing the stick if Song tries anything funny. Thankfully, it doesn't get to that because the MC suddenly reveals the pack of cigarettes in his hand and stretches it out for Choi to take, asking if he'd like a smoke. As you can imagine, the man is still pretty reluctant to let his guard down, but the offer is just way too tempting for him to pass up, so he eventually lowers his stick. Just like that, the atmosphere becomes less tense as Choi calms down and asks if he can have one of the cigarettes. A few moments later, we see that the two young men are now looking like they weren't ready to pummel one another before. From the look on Choi's face, you can tell that he really needed that smoke. He moans in delight, admitting that he finally feels alive again, while Song just laughs in response, because he knows the feeling. Song admits that he knows exactly how Choi feels, and claims that this is one of the few comforts they have in this crazy situation they've found themselves. He makes this confession, but Choi doesn't say anything, which leads to an awkward silence for a few seconds. At this point, our guy starts to feel pretty nervous and then admits that the reason cigarettes are his comfort is because he's only eaten half a chocolate bar all this whole. Hearing this, Choi decides to loosen up a bit and share some of his food with our guy. Choi suddenly starts opening his bag and Song is stunned when he takes a peek. The bag is really full, which makes him conclude that Choi must have gotten that much from the break room. As far as he's concerned, that's the only explanation, and while he's still pondering on it, Choi brings out a pack of raw noodles. He breaks it in two and gives one piece to our protagonist. Of course, in their current situation, there's really no other choice but to eat whatever is available, so Song gladly takes the noodles from him and starts munching on it. He thanks Choi and becomes really curious about something. Choi said that he was from the development team, so the fact that he got here means that he probably cleared out all the food on the entire second floor. In response, the guy in glasses confirms this, explaining that it's no longer necessary to put food in refrigerators, and our guy completely agrees with him. These two new friends enjoy their uncooked food together, and after some time, Song asks Choi what the situation is like on the second floor. Sadly, the guy reveals that it's not good at all. At first, Choi was trapped in the break room with a colleague. Back then, it was just the two of them, so they split the food in two to manage their resources. However, the other guy kept insisting that they had to keep moving. Choi didn't think that was a good idea and suggested that it would be wiser to wait for a rescue team to come get them. Despite his attempts to make his colleague wait there with him, the guy eventually had enough and decided to leave without him. As you can imagine, the impatient guy was infected as soon as he went out, and just like that, Choi was left all by himself. After hearing this story, the MC suggests that there are probably quite a few zombies on the second floor since he passed there on his way down, and Choi confirms this, claiming that he counted at least 4 of the undead himself. Clearly, Choi also has no choice but to come out since his battery was about to die completely. As such, he was forced to come across the bloodthirsty zombies on his way down, and this makes our guy wonder how he got out without being infected. In response, Choi reveals that he drew their attention by throwing something in the opposite direction. So, whenever they were distracted, he simply took the opportunity to crawl out of their reach. Song is quite impressed with the story, admitting how amazing it is that he escaped safely from 4 zombies. Choi just laughs nervously as he thanks our guy for the compliment. Judging by everything he just heard, Song is convinced that Choi was the one who turned on the emergency generator, so he asks just to be sure, and the assistant manager confirms his guess. The MC looks over at the power strip in the corner with several chargers plugged in and figures that it's the reason Choi risked his life to go turn on the generator. Clearly, the guy had to charge his devices so he wouldn't get stranded, but Song is a little confused because he doesn't really think there's a point. Hearing this, Choi is shocked because he can't believe that Song has been surviving without using the internet. At this point, our boy is even more surprised because he had no idea that there was even any signal in the building all this while. Hearing this, the assistant manager informs him that satellite internet is actually available. This response leaves our guy astounded, and that's when Choi asks him if he knows about Spacelink. Sure enough, Song is familiar with this name, so Choi tells him that they still have access to the internet because of it. Of course, there aren't many usable servers left since the zombies took over, but there are a few communities that they can still connect to. Well, our boy didn't have any idea about this, so it's taking him a while to process all the information. It's a good thing he met Choi then. Anyway, Mr. Glasses goes on to reveal that the charger is currently plugged in a fast on, which means that it should be done very soon. That being said, he offers to help our guy charge his phone afterward if he has one on him. Time goes by and sure enough, Choi helps Song plug in his phone. Just like the assistant manager said, the internet is still working and our MC is even able to access his social media account where he comes across several others who haven't been infected. This whole thing is like a breakthrough for him, so he genuinely thanks Choi for everything. The guy charged his phone, connected him to the Spacelink internet, and even told him about the community, so he is really glad. Of course, Choi is pretty modest about it, claiming that it's nothing. Not long after that, they notice the lights above them flickering and Song immediately suggests that the emergency generator is about to run out of power. Of course, this is really tragic news for Choi, even though he already knew that it was going to happen eventually. Things are about to get a lot more difficult for them, which makes him wonder what Song plans to do in this situation. Before our guy can even say anything, Choi makes his intentions very clear, stating that he will be staying right in the room. The assistant manager doesn't have any intention of leaving the room, and stating this, Song just stares at him with a disappointed look on his face. Clearly, Choi only said this just now because he wants Song to leave. The guy suddenly starts reaching for his wooden stick again, like he's preparing to attack our guy if an argument breaks out. Song doesn't seem to notice this though, but he understands why the assistant manager would want him to leave. The MC knows that he's probably just a burden considering Choi's current disposition. The assistant manager's strategy is obviously to hold out for as long as possible in the safest location, so he truly has no need for a companion who would just consume more of his food while waiting around. Song also doesn't consider Choi a good companion in this situation because they have conflicting ideas. As far as the MC is concerned, he needs to keep exploring in order to find a way out, and this means that Choi would only be an obstacle. As such, he believes that it's only right for them to part ways here and now. After considering all of these factors, our guy finally informs Choi that he will be leaving instead. Of course, Mr. Glasses over here doesn't have any problems with this. In fact, he's even relieved to hear it. Without any hesitation, he goes over to his bag to take out a flashlight and a small power bank. Apparently, he has about 2 more of these to spare, so he doesn't mind giving them to Song as a parting gift. He presents them to our boy, proving that he's not all self-centered, and of course, Song is really grateful for the gift. He thanks the assistant manager sincerely because he knows how incredible these items will be in a situation without any electricity. Grateful for Choi's generosity, our guy decides to return the favor, so he takes out a few sticks from his pack of cigarettes and gives them to the guy as well. Of course, Choi really appreciates it, so he thanks Song as well, and the 2 survivors finally part ways. Our guy makes his way to the door and Choi wishes him luck. Before stepping out, the MC turns to the guy, hoping that they get to see each other alive again. Song exits the room after that, and as soon as he's outside, he's overwhelmed by the horde of zombies flooding the area. Right now, he knows that he has to hurry because the electricity will be cut off soon, leaving him stuck in the dark with the undead creatures. To avoid this, he needs to get the hell out of here. Thankfully, the door is still holding up so he can escape very quickly. Song contemplates his next course of action. If he goes down to the basement, he can easily access his company car in the parking lot. There's a chance he can escape with it, but at the same time, he's not even sure that leaving the building right now is the correct choice. At the moment, he's starting to reconsider his idea, feeling that the time to escape the company building will come eventually, so there's no need to rush. A part of him knows that leaving the company right now could turn out to be a rash decision, so, for the meantime, he feels that it is wiser to go back up and get all the information he can from the company. That way, he'll be more equipped with everything he needs to enable him to escape safely. With this in mind, our guy starts marching up the stairs with his bloody golf club in hand. He's only a few steps in when everything goes dark all of a sudden. He curses in frustration when this happens because it means that the emergency generator finally ran out of power. Thankfully, he still has a flashlight, so rather than freaking out, he's able to stay calm. Song uses the light to navigate his way up the stairs as carefully as he can because there's a good chance the zombies moved when he was downstairs. By being extremely careful and quiet, Song is able to reach the 4th, 5th, and then the 6th floor without being attacked by the zombies. Now, he just needs to move a little higher to reach his destination, but then all of a sudden, he hears a noise coming from the floor above. He's certain that someone is on the upper floor and fears that it's most likely a zombie. Despite being absolutely terrified right now, the MC knows that there's really no turning back at this point. He has no choice but to keep going, so he tightens his grip on the golf club and braces himself for what is to come, confident that he'll break through no matter what. A few seconds later, we see that our determined hero has hung the flashlight in the railing to enable him go face the zombie with both of his hands free. He slowly goes up with his trusty golf club in hand and quietly closing in on the monster as he prepares to knock it out. By the time he gets close enough, he is finally able to see the zombie fully and is even relieved that it's also facing the rooftop. With the creature turning its back to him, this means that he'll be able to sneak up on it from behind, so he's even more motivated to use this opportunity before it's too late. Determined to take out the zombie, he moves even closer, waiting for the perfect opening to strike, but things take a huge twist when the zombie senses him. Just like that, the monster's neck turns 360 degrees to look at him, and in that moment, he already knows that he is cooked. The monster growls at him as it foams from the mouth, and before our guy can even think of anything, the vicious zombie lunges at him from up the stairs. At this point, you'd think Song would definitely get infected because of how close he is, but he somehow manages to land a devastating blow to the zombie's head with his golf stick, and the force from the hit is so powerful that it sends the monster slamming into the wall. Of course, just one hit isn't going to be enough to take out a monster this vicious, so the creature gets right back up, even more pissed this time around. The zombie screeches at him in rage and once again, charges at him, so he repeats the same moves a second time. Song knows that this is a matter of life or death, so despite being absolutely terrified, he musters all the courage and strength he can to fight off the zombie. He lands several powerful blows on the monster, desperate to kill it for good, but just as he's hoping that the fight is all over, he sees the creature getting back up. He sees that zombie's still moving after everything, and he's already tired of landing hits, but he doesn't have a choice. So, he just hits the zombie some more, begging it to just die, and then he finally kills it. Our guy is sure that it's dead when the familiar blue window pops up in front of him, informing him that he has acquired 1 coin. The shopping window appears right after that, showing him all the stuff that he can purchase now that he has 2 coins. The MC stares at the window in a daze with his bent and bloody golf club still in hand. He's irritated by the twisted system showing him a shopping menu when he literally almost died a few seconds ago, so he angrily waves the window away. But then again, he keeps his frustration aside and decides to be more rational about it. Looking at the stuff on the menu, he realizes that the coins might be useful for something else, so he decides to just take them for now. Song accepts his reward and starts packing up his stuff. While he's at it, he can't help but wonder where this particular zombie actually came from. From what he can see, the rooftop is closed, so it couldn't have come from there, and this makes him wonder if it came from another floor instead. He starts racking his brain about all this, so he starts to think that the 7th floor might not be safe either. Despite feeling this way, he decides to go up there anyway and quickly enters the empty office room there. He shuts the door behind him and sighs in relief, feeling that he should be safe. He takes out his water can to have a drink, and then the memory of the zombie he faced earlier flashes across his mind. He is still hung up on how fast it was. At that speed, he feels that the zombie is probably even faster than when it was still a normal person. As far as he's concerned, it might even be on the level of a wild animal now that it's this lethal. Song is truly shaken by the experience he faced, and he's even afraid that he would probably have been the one who died if there were 2 zombies. With this fear now dwelling in his mind, he figures that he needs to find companions to move with. If he can't do that, then he'll have to create situations where it's always a one-on-one with the zombies. Anything other than that might not end well for him, and he knows this. After quenching his thirst, he suddenly remembers that he should probably check the internet now that he's back upstairs. He feels that there might be more information on the zombies online. Song quickly gets back on the Spacelink internet and starts surfing the web for anything related to the zombies, but he just finds stuff about the weather. One guy is really astounded by the temperature outside because it was minus 27 degrees Celsius when he measured it. Another person from Gangwon province also had a crazy experience with the temperature, claiming that the water froze when he left the tap running. You'd think the last one would be useful information, but it's just still another message from someone talking about how their relatives got infected by a zombie. After scrolling for a while, Song simply gives up because there's really no useful info about the zombies. So, he goes over what he already knows about them. The creatures are sensitive to sound and have somewhat poor sight and smell. They also keep moving until their head is destroyed. And the most obvious fact, if you're bitten by a zombie, then you become one as well. These things online are all stuff he already knew before now, and it's mostly just survivors crying out for rescue on the servers. As annoying as the situation is, it's actually helped him to confirm one thing, which is the fact that the government has now completely collapsed. It's now very obvious that no one is coming to save them, and so now, the harsh reality dawns on him. Song finally accepts the fact that he has to survive on his own, by himself in this godforsaken world. The thought runs through his mind just as the harsh cold seeps deeper into his body, causing him to cough violently. Of course, that's never a good sign. Soon, it's day 5 of survival and our guy is literally shaking like a leaf. The cold seems to have really gotten to him now because he's covering himself in a blanket but still shivering tremendously. For some reason, he still thinks that he hasn't caught a cold yet. Bro claims that he can't let that happen when he's clearly sick already. I mean, you can't blame him for not wanting to accept that he's sick. After all, in this situation, a cold practically means death. Song Jin Song is determined to stay healthy, so he motivates himself to move his body in order to generate some heat. This might turn out to be a bad idea since he'll probably need to replenish the lost energy afterward. Anyway, our guy proceeds to do some jumping jacks to generate heat, and of course, it doesn't take long for his belly to start growling. He's clearly very hungry now and tired too, so he goes straight to one of his chocolate bars. Normally, he would have eaten only half, but right now, his body needs the calories, so he throws conservation out the window and eats the whole thing. After eating, Song takes off his shoes, feeling pretty irritated by the cold. He probably thought his body would have adapted to the temperature by now, but after 5 days of this Ice Age apocalypse, he is now sure that he can never get used to this cold. As such, he decides that it's time to go light, feeling that it would just be cumbersome to move with his shoes on. He drops them on the desk, feeling that leaving them there would be better since it makes less noise. Once that's out of the way, he realizes that he needs to find proper food before things get worse. To do this, he'll need to leave the office for his search. According to Assistant Manager Choi's information, half of the food from the break room should still be there, so now, his mission is to make it there alive and find it. He needs to get to the development team floor and find the bag of Choi's colleague who turned into a zombie. The only problem with this little mission now is the fact that there are probably more than 4 zombies in that area, waiting for their next human victim. This makes things very difficult for him because it's going to be almost impossible to snatch the bag from the zombified colleague without the other undead creatures noticing. The only way to get the bag back now is to take the zombies out one by one. With this in mind, our boy goes into assassin mode. He scans the area to locate all the zombies. The first one is in the Development Team 1 office. There's another in Development Team 2 as well. And then one in the New Business Team office. There should be at least 4 on this floor, but he's only seen 3, which makes him wonder where the last one is. He's confused right now, so he tries to recall what he saw the last time he passed here. There were no bodies on the path from the break room to the emergency exit before. But now, there's one more somewhere he doesn't even know. This makes things a bit complicated, so he decides that the first course of action is to deal with all the zombies he's found. Using his flashlight, he keeps looking around and eventually finds another one in one of the supply rooms. He checks another room and is delighted to see that the non-food supplies are still there, but his quiet celebration is suddenly interrupted when he hears the low growl of a zombie coming his way. Song Jin Song quickly hides to avoid getting spotted, but he also marks the zombie's location. And so, now that he's gotten all his targets, it's time for him to begin the hunt. To set the plan in motion, he hurls a cup across the room to get the zombie's attention, knowing that the mindless creature would run in that direction. Sure enough, when the undead monster dashes toward the noise, Song emerges from the shadows with his golf club and takes a big swing at the zombie's head. The bloodthirsty monster doesn't see him on time, and by the time it realizes that it just got played, it's already too late. The MC buries the golf club in the zombie's head, killing it with a single strike, but the noise attracts the others nearby, and they don't hesitate to come after him. Thankfully, our guy sees them coming from the other room early enough so before they can get to him, he slams the door and locks them outside. Seeing the crazy zombies screaming outside the door, the MC feels so proud of himself because his little scheme worked just as he planned. He smiles with the flashlight tightly held in his teeth, feeling pretty confident. Right now, his hopes of taking them all out are looking alive, but just when he thinks he's winning, a zombie grabs his leg out of nowhere. The moment he feels the hand firmly grip his ankle, he turns around in shock. He looks down at the zombie growling at him, and of course, this leaves him very petrified because being this close to one of them is literally a death sentence. The zombie widens its jaws to do what they do best, and Song's adrenaline level spikes in the blink of an eye. The flashlight falls from his mouth in his panic, but thankfully, he is able to avoid getting bit. Before the monster can get him, he forcefully stomps on its head. He slams it and proceeds to hammer it with the gold club until there's blood everywhere and the zombie stops moving. As you can imagine, even after killing the zombie, he's still overwhelmed by what just happened. It was a very terrifying experience for sure, but it's still not over yet because there are still 2 other zombies waiting outside the door for him. Well, at least they can't get to him now, so he calmly picks up his flashlight from the pool of zombie blood. Now, He's already attracted two of them to him, so he resolves to finish this before any more zombies are drawn by the noise. Determined to come out of this alive, he puts the flashlight back in his mouth and charges right out the door. He opens the door and immediately throws a spoon across the office to distract them. Of course, this works pretty well since one of the two mindlessly runs toward the noise. The other one is a bit more suspicious about the situation, so it just stands there looking baffled, and this allows our boy to strike. Meanwhile, the other zombie that went after the spoon appears to have a backpack on, and it's probably the one Song is looking for. Our boy attacks the first one and goes after the second one with his golf club like a gladiator. The zombie tries to run away, but of course, the MC is way too locked in to let it escape. He goes after the undead creature with murderous intent, and a few seconds later, we see his golf club bent beyond recognition. The metal stick is completely deformed and covered in zombie blood at this point. The final confirmation that he killed the two creatures is the sudden message that pops up, revealing that he just acquired 4 coins. After the crazy ambush he just laid on the zombies, he uses his flashlight to see the bag properly. He almost died while taking them on, but it wasn't for nothing because now he's finally gotten the bag of food he came for. He inspects the dead zombie with the backpack, and that's when he sees how deformed his golf club is now. Looking at it, he can immediately see that he won't be able to use it anymore. It's time to let it go. Song quickly unstraps the backpack and takes it off the zombie corpse. He puts on the bag and is delighted by how heavy it is because that just means there's a lot of food in there. Before leaving, it dawns on him that he no longer has a weapon to protect himself. Going back down to other floors without a weapon would be pretty risky, but he doesn't have a choice, so he figures that it's better to just move quickly. But then again, now that he's cleared this area, he thinks that it might not be a bad idea to search the place some more for something that could be useful to him. Since he's still there, he decides to take a look around. Assistant Manager Choi said that his colleague hid in the break room, which means that the two of them probably didn't get a chance to search anywhere else while they were on this floor. Well, our boy has managed to make the place safer for exploring, so that's exactly what he does. He looks around the place, and it doesn't take him long to find some interesting stuff. He finds a pretty good haul, and he's impressed. Just from the desks in Development Team 1, he found a power bank and even nutritional supplements, so he's feeling really lucky. Things are looking really good right now, so he feels that it would be good to also search Development Team 2 as well. On his way there, he suddenly hears something that catches his attention. It definitely sounds like a zombie, so he begins to panic since he doesn't have a weapon on him anymore. This might turn into a big problem for him if he's not careful, so he quietly jogs in the opposite direction. If he runs into the zombie right now, then he'll be done for, so he decides to go back. There's no point risking his life in search of another good haul. A few moments later, we see that Song has found somewhere safe to check out what's in the bag. It's pretty safe now, so he's finally starting to calm down. He laughs in excitement as he hugs the bag tightly. He never imagined that he'd end up feeling safe at the office, especially in a situation like this. After being all ceremonial about his find, he finally decides to open up the bag to see what exactly he brought back from the zombie. Song takes out 3 bags of chips, along with 2 boxes of choco pies. There's a ton of cookies and 5 cup raimens. He also finds a can of cola inside, which takes his excitement to another level. In this Ice Age apocalypse, what he's got in his hands right now is practically a treasure. With his conservative skills, this should be enough for at least a month. As long as water is available with these supplies, Song believes that he can survive for a month without much trouble. Our guy leans back with a look of satisfaction on his face, convinced that this stash was definitely worth risking his life for. Unfortunately, just when he's finally about to feel good for the first time in days, the familiar chills rush back into his body. He starts shivering all over again now that the excitement has died down. His socks are soaked in blood and sweat, which means that his wet feet are making it even colder for him. He doesn't even know how to handle his current predicament. He feels like he should wash up a little to get the blood off. So he takes off his socks and starts washing his feet with ice water. Of course, the moment the water touches his feet, the cold shocks him. It's way too cold and he can't even believe that he's doing this. He never imagined that he would be washing his feet with ice water in his life. After washing off most of the blood, he suddenly comes across something horrifying. It's a wound, and for some reason, it resembles a bite mark way too much. He's shocked because he doesn't remember getting injured during his encounter with the zombies earlier. Song's eyes widen in horror as he thinks back to the time the zombie grabbed his legs. He's starting to think that he might have gotten scratched by it then, because he's certain that he didn't get bitten. From what he knows about these undead creatures, he definitely has to be bitten to become a zombie. He takes out his phone to confirm what he saw online, and sure enough, he comes across the post from a person who was scratched and wasn't infected even after several days. The MC is so excited when he reads this message because it means that he's still safe. The guy is so relieved now because it definitely wouldn't have been easy to deal with the fact that he'll soon be turned into a zombie. Now, he's done washing his feet, so he goes to dry them with his blanket. After cleaning his legs, he can finally see how serious the wound is. Once again, his legs start shivering from the cold and he begins to get worried. At this rate, he's afraid that this wound will lead to frostbite. On top of that, his toes are exposed, and if that continues, he'll be in some serious trouble. He knows that he needs to warm his foot up somehow, so he finally decides to visit that strange shop that's been popping up. He opens the shopping window in search of something to help him get warm, and like always, he's reminded of his balance. The floating window informs him that he possesses 6 coins now and shows him all the necessary items he can purchase with them. He vividly remembers seeing winter clothes on the shopping window, so he immediately starts scrolling to find them. It doesn't take too long for him to get there. Thankfully, they're still there, and they also seem affordable. The winter jacket and pants would set him back 3 of his coins. The winter boots just next to them cost 3 coins as well. This is also the same price for the winter gloves and the winter hat. Everything on this page costs 3 coins each, which makes things pretty dicey for him. He obviously can't afford all of them, so he'll have to choose carefully and get the items he needs the most. He curses in frustration when he sees these prices, claiming that the creator of the system must be really cheap to sell these items separately. I mean, they're all supposed to come as a package, so you can't blame him for being pissed. Besides that, the pricing doesn't even make any sense to him because boots, gloves, and a hat are all smaller than the clothes. As far as he's concerned, they should not cost the same number of coins. He grumbles about the situation for a while but quickly reminds himself that complaining won't change anything. He needs to make a choice right away, so he does just that. Song Jin Song clicks on the winter boots since that's the most pressing item right now. Without them, his toes would probably be falling off in a few days. Our guy is taken aback when the big winter boots suddenly appear right in front of him in a flash. He finds it strange that the shoes really appeared because it's almost like magic. He holds them up to confirm that they're actually real, and he's even more surprised by the fact that they're his size. He was actually worried that the boots might be too big or too small for him, but somehow, they're just the perfect fit for him. He's still trying them on at this point, and the whole thing just makes him wonder if this means that everything he buys on the shopping window will come out customized for him. After wearing the comfy winter boots, his feet are feeling a lot better, but he knows that it's not enough. Sure, he's saved his toes and feet from the frostbite now, but he's still shaking like a leaf. Song doesn't think the boots will be enough to save him from the cold, so he goes back to the shopping window to look for anything else that can be of help. Determined to heal his wound, fight the cold, and also manage his coins, this stranded office worker scrolls endlessly through the shopping window in search of the perfect item. Sadly, after searching for a while, he still doesn't find what he's looking for, and this leaves him a little frustrated. Just when it looks like he's not going to have any luck, his eyes widen all of a sudden. His gaze locks in on a particular item that we can't see yet. It seems to be that he's finally found what he's been searching for, because he does even think twice before clicking the button to buy it. He purchases this mystery item in a flash and 1 coin is deducted from his balance. Well, we still can't see what Song just acquired, but what we do know is that it's definitely something useful. Remember that mystery item that Song purchased without a second thought? Well, it turned out to be a hot pack for the wounds on his feet. The MC quickly takes it out of the wrapper and starts massaging his feet with it. Right now, he feels more alive than he's been in the past 5 days. Well, it actually makes a lot of sense since this is pretty much the most relief he's felt since the apocalypse started. Sure, buying a single hot pack with 1 precious coin was pretty expensive, but this young man doesn't mind at all. He rubs the hot pack all over his feet, and the soothing feeling pretty much intoxicates him for a second. The hot pack wasn't cheap, but it was definitely worth it for him because he finally feels like he can live in these unbearable conditions. Soon it's day 7 of survival in this ice age apocalypse, and tragedy strikes. Song goes to the sink to get some water and is absolutely horrified when not even a single drop comes out of the faucet. As you can imagine, this is a very terrible discovery for him, and he almost doesn't believe it at first. He quickly comes to terms with reality though, since he actually saw it coming. It was really just a matter of time, and now, in the end, the water has finally been cut off. Thankfully, he's not exactly stranded now because he made preparations for this very calamity. Song was smart enough to keep his water supply full just in case this happened. Bro filled several water cans, but there's only so much water he can store. Despite his best efforts, he was only able to gather about 2 liters of water, which is definitely underwhelming for someone in his situation. Well, our guy knows this too and already has an idea of what he's going to face. The water he stored is only going to be enough for 3 to 4 days at best. Anything more than that would mean that he'd probably have to turn himself into a camel overnight somehow. Just when he started to feel alive in this icy prison, this kind of shit happens. As you can imagine, he's pretty frustrated by the situation, but he can't do much to change it. So he just lies back down on the desk, wondering why this is happening to him. Song takes out his phone to check the servers, hoping to see some good news at least. On the server, a couple other survivors are still communicating with one another. One brave fellow confirms that there are some zombies on the first floor, but still wants to go check out the supermarket across the street regardless. The man takes a frying pan with him as he makes his way out to the street. For some reason, he thinks one metal pan is enough to fight off the zombies. Anyway, he completes his preparation and updates the others on the servers, informing them as soon as he sets out. Song is one of the anonymous members of the chat. So, he asks him if he's really going, so the guy confirms this once again, promising to post again if he survives this dangerous mission. Seeing this, the others just wish him good luck, knowing just how risky it is. Seong remains on the desk after reading all the messages on the chat. Bro looks like he's about to give up any second now, and you can't really blame him. He's probably feeling discouraged after seeing that the number of posts is gradually decreasing. Since he joined the server, the number of messages have dropped quite a lot, so he fears that most of the survivors he met on there are probably now dead. It's a really harsh reality, but he knows that he just has to face it because he can barely see any signs of survivors out the window anymore. Before, he'd at least see a few civilians running around in attempts to evade the zombies, but now, all he can see are the mindless creatures roaming the streets. At this rate, he's afraid that he'll be the last human in the city in a couple of days. This thought lingers in his mind, but at the same time, he forces himself to be positive. Song refuses to think about the worst of his situation, feeling that there might just be many survivors like him in places that he doesn't know about. After all, nobody on the outside knew that he'd been trapped in the company building until he joined the server using the Spacelink internet. The next day, which is the 8th day of him being stuck in this Ice Age apocalypse, Song checks his phone again for updates. He finds 7 new notifications on the server, so he reads through all of them. The anonymous member from the previous day, who was talking to the brave guy, is starting to freak out now. It's been a day since the man set out to go to the supermarket, but he still hasn't posted anything, so it's starting to look like he didn't make it. The zombies probably got him, so when Song sees these messages, he finds it very difficult to remain positive. He had a little hope that the man would actually survive, but the mission proved as difficult as he thought. And now, he's completely certain that there's no way to survive out on the streets. Sure, he still has food and water that can last a couple more days, but he knows that he can't just wait here like this. When the time comes to leave this place, going out alone would mean death, so once again, he makes up his mind to go out and find another survivor. Our guy knows that he needs to get an ally as soon as possible, no matter what it takes. However, there's one glaring problem with this plan, which is the fact that our guy still doesn't have a weapon. He needs a good one if he's going to start wandering around the company building. Song looks over at the golf bag he found several days ago and quickly confirms that there's only one decent golf club left in it. He takes it out to have a look, and after inspecting it, he realizes that it's less durable than he thought. It might look pretty solid now, but it becomes useless after taking down 3 or 4 zombies. Obviously, there's a very good chance that he'll come across way more zombies than that if he truly sets out on his mission again. This means that he'll need something more durable to protect himself with if he wants to survive. And so, he opens that shopping window earlier to see what might be of use to him there. The first weapon he sees is the hammer for crushing zombie skulls. It looks pretty cool, with a spiked end that's pretty menacing, but there's one major problem with this weapon, which is the fact that it's too expensive for our guy. Right now, Song can't afford the hammer because it costs 5 coins to get, and he's already down to his last 2. After taking a good look at the weapon again, our guy admits that it actually looks really good. However, this doesn't make him think it's worth it. With 5 coins, Song knows that he can easily buy winter clothes and still have enough to get another hot pack. At the moment, these other things are looking a lot more valuable to him, so he's really not interested in buying the weapon in a hurry. After all, he still has a golf club that could hold up for a while. With this in mind, he sets out on his stealthy mission. First plan on the agenda is to check out the other floors and see what he can scavenge. So, with his flashlight in one hand and the golf stick in the other, Song quietly moves down to the other floors, and it doesn't take too long for him to discover something really disturbing. He enters one of the dark offices and is instantly taken aback when he finds fresh blood stains on the desk. He goes over to investigate, feeling very confused because there's no one around. He's been seeing these blood stains for a while now, but this one especially caught his attention. Our guy goes closer, hoping to find answers because even the smell is really disturbing. It smells just like the zombies, but it doesn't make any sense because he can't find any bodies around. By the time he scans the office with his flashlight, he realizes that the place is truly a mess with bloodstains everywhere. This sends chills down his spine as he wonders what on earth happened there. He tries to open the adjoining door leading to another room but immediately realizes that it's locked. This leaves him even more perplexed because now, he begins to wonder if someone is hiding inside the room. He leans closer to check if he'll hear any noise coming from inside, but that's not the case. He can't hear anything and so, after a brief pause, he decides to break in. Before bursting in though, he makes it very clear that he's going in. Song breaks down the door and of course, he's met by a new shocking discovery. The entire room is filled with bloody corpses piled on top of each other. He's taken aback by the sight, but bravely goes in to investigate some more. Looking at the heap of dead zombies, he can tell that there has to be at least 10 of them lying here. It's chilling to be in here with so many dead zombies, but he forces himself to focus. He came here in search of useful items, so he quickly goes to one of the drawers to rummage. Even while he's at it, he can't help but wonder what the hell happened in there. He's bewildered that someone was able to kill these many zombies, and he can only wonder who in the world could have done it. The fact that a monster like this person has been in the company is truly mind-blowing for him, and all he can think about is how good it would be to have them on his side. As far as he's concerned, he wouldn't have to worry about a thing if this zombie slayer became his ally. After check in the cupboards, he doesn't find anything useful, so he prepares to get out of the room. He wouldn't want to be caught off guard by the other active zombies. Song remembers seeing signs that the other offices were searched too, so he feels that this place might already have been swept by whoever killed the zombies. He begins to panic a little when this thought crosses his mind, because if that's truly this case then this whole place has most likely been cleared out already. As such, he just gives up on searching, convinced that there's no way anything useful would be left in there for him. He sighs in defeat, feeling that all his efforts were simply futile. Sure enough, there's really nothing in any of the compartments, and this just leaves him wondering one thing. Who was it to have taken things so thoroughly? He finds it hard to believe that only one person could have done this, so he feels that it could even have been several others. And so, he begins to wonder if they're even still in the building after seeing how they cleared out the whole place. While still looking around, Soyoung suddenly stumbles upon something that really catches his attention. He notices a piece of paper sticking out from under one of the coffee machines on the table, so he immediately takes it out to see what's in there. That's when he realizes that it's a note from another survivor. In the letter, the person claims that they're glad to know a fellow human made it to the 4th floor. They also apologize for taking everything on the floor that could be used as food. They then advise Song not to waste his time or energy checking the break room, since they've already searched all the drawers. They also tell him not to bother opening the managing director's office since they've piled up the zombie corpses there. Clearly, this note was written by the person who cleared the floor and slaughtered all those zombies, but that's not the only information that was left in the letter. Song continues to read the paper and gets to the part where the person reveals that they left a shirt in the cabinet for whoever finds it. They also recommended that he avoid going to the 5th floor if he can. Apparently, this person intends to leave the city and head toward the west coast because it seems to be a good place to guard against zombies. After all, there are a couple islands over there. The writer left at exactly 10 am on the 8th day since the zombie attack, which Song is pretty horrified to see because it was the day before. He curses in frustration, feeling that he could have met the person if he had just moved one day earlier. At the end of the letter, the writer finally reveals their identity. He's assistant manager upon Hyuk, Jay from the accounting team, and he ends the note by wishing Song good luck, hoping to see the reader of his letter again one day. Song is pretty familiar with Hyuk, Jay because they were colleagues from the same year. From what the MC remembers, the guy always used to brag about being in the special forces, so now, after seeing how he wiped out a wave of zombies, our boy finally agrees it was a well-deserved bragging right. Song gathers the papers and suddenly realizes that there's something on the back as well. It's a short note revealing that Hyuk Jay left a gift in the drawer for any office worker who might come by. As you can imagine, our guy is pretty excited when he sees this, so he instantly rushes to the drawer in question where he finds a briefcase. He opens it up with so much excitement, but all he finds is a bunch of coffee mix. Apparently, Hyuk Jay thought this would be funny, but the MC isn't exactly feeling the joke right now. Soon, it's day 10 of the apocalypse and our guy is back to surviving on the remaining chocolate bars he has. Out of boredom, he finds himself reading Hyuk Jay's note over and over. He's particularly curious about the part where the guy told him to avoid going to the 5th floor. It makes him curious and suspicious at the same time. He keeps wondering why he shouldn't go up there when he knows that the fifth floor is the president's office. Logically thinking, it doesn't even seem likely that there would be many zombies there since it's so high up. As curious as he is right now, he still knows that Yoon Hyuk Jae isn't the kind of person to give a warning without reason. He finally finishes his chocolate bar just as the thought crosses his mind. He's been really bothered by what was in the note, but even more importantly, he hasn't seen a single survivor outside since the previous day. It's pretty troubling as it's starting to look like there aren't any normal humans left out there. Right now, he's starting to feel pretty hopeless because as time passes, the chances of meeting a survivor and potential ally keeps decreasing. He still regrets missing one the previous day, so he's not willing to waste another chance. With this in mind, he decides to finally get off his butt to search the other floors. He's determined to find someone this time around, but he's a little overwhelmed just thinking about how many floors he might have to check it before he actually finds someone. The thought lingers in his mind for a while, but he is suddenly drawn out of his thoughts when a bright light shines in his eyes. He's really puzzled when he sees this because he didn't think that anyone would still be out there. He quickly snaps out of the shock though, because he realizes that this is someone sending him a signal, and so he starts waving like a maniac to get their attention. Our guy gets so excited when he realizes that there's actually someone out there who's not yet a zombie, and then when he takes a closer look, he sees that the man in the other building is holding a piece of paper up. The person is obviously trying to tell him something, but they're too far away from each other for him to see what's written on the paper. Just when it seems like he won't be able to communicate with the person, a bright idea suddenly pops into his mind. Song quickly takes out his phone to take a picture of the paper, and once that's done, he zooms right in, hoping that he'll finally be able to read it. Thankfully, his plan works and he can finally see what the guy was trying to tell him. Apparently, it's saying that there are people on the 6th and 7th floors in the company building. Also, the man has people in his own building and wants to team up. This is exactly what our guy has been desperately hoping for, so seeing this message right now is like a dream come true for him. He had almost lost hope, but now, hearing that there were other survivors all this time, he gets really excited. Now, he needs to go straight into action. For the meantime, he can leave the people in the other building, hoping that they can handle themselves. His priority right now is to find the person on the 6th floor, so he grabs his gold club and springs into action. Our guy sets off on his mission to get to the 6th floor, but is taken aback when he discovers that the entrance is blocked. He doesn't understand why this is the case, so he starts to wonder if the other survivor saw the message and decided to clear out the place. Either way, he makes his way down to the 6th floor, and upon entry, he calmly makes his presence known, revealing that he's from the 7th floor. He announces that he's an employee at Taezong Trading and all of that. He's still trying to assure them that he has no hostile intentions when he accidentally kicks something. Song quickly uses the light to check what it is and notices how the place looks kinda weird. Something feels off, so now he's wondering if another guest arrived before him. The MC is pretty puzzled at the moment because he's not sure what is going on, but he gets answers very quickly when a zombie sneaks up behind him and attacks. The terrifying creature charges at him with blistering speed, but he somehow manages to turn around in time to defend himself. Song uses his golf stick to block the zombie charging at him, and it shoves him down to the ground in the process. Now, with his back touching the floor, our guy knows that this is a life or death situation, so he fights with everything he's got. First, he creates some space by kicking the zombie in the gut. This gives him the chance to get back on his feet, so this time, he doesn't hesitate to unleash his own attack on the zombie. Song charges at the monster and takes it out pretty quickly with his golf club. A few seconds later, our guy is standing above the brutalized zombie with sweat dripping down his face. He's managed to take out the monster, but he's not done yet, so to finish the job, he lifts one of the metal tables and smashes the zombie with it. Song mercilessly squashes the zombie's head, leaving a bloody mess in the floor, and it's at this point that the kill is finally confirmed because the mysterious window pops up once again to inform him that he just acquired another coin. The MC finds this pretty amusing because with the way the windows keep appearing, it's starting to feel more like a death notification at this point. As much as he'd like to dwell on that, he has more pressing issues on his hands. There was supposed to be another survivor on this floor, so now that he's dealt with the zombie that attacked him, he goes back to searching for a potential ally. He grabs his flashlight to continue his search, and when he doesn't sense anyone around, he starts to wonder if that guy across was lying to him earlier. Just when he's about to start having doubts, he hears a clanking sound from one of the doors around him. Of course, this gives him some hope, because he's convinced that it must have been the other survivor. Looks like the guy wasn't lying after all. With this in mind, Song goes over to the door to investigate and notices that it's been locked. So, rather than bathing in, he tries to use his words first. He tells the person hiding that he knows they're there, and then quickly explains that he didn't come here to harm them. Song makes it pretty clear that he came to team up, and politely asks the person to introduce themselves to him. While saying all of this, he quietly reaches for the door in an attempt to open it, but it doesn't budge. When he doesn't get a response from the person in there, he goes ahead to introduce himself, revealing that he's an employee of the company with sales team 2. Still, there's no response even after a while, so the MC begins to seriously consider breaking in. He tightens the grip on his golf club as he prepares to take a big swing at the door, but that's when the person inside finally responds. For some reason, they kinda recognize his voice and ask if he's really Song Jin. Song. Of course, this question leaves our guy taken aback, and while he's still trying to wrap his head around it, the lady inside suddenly opens the door. He's absolutely gobsmacked the moment he sees her because it just so happens to be Miss Siana. As you can imagine, our guy is stunned, but the lady looks really excited to see after all this time. Sure enough, she lets him in and the two catch up for a while. Song is really surprised to learn that she's been here all this time. Clearly, that has been the case and they probably wouldn't have met if it wasn't for the guy that reached out to them last night. Apparently, our guy wasn't the only one who received a message from another survivor last night, because Sion Ah was also approached by someone who came urgently asking her to open the door. The guy was banging on the window, asking her to open up, but she had a bad feeling, so she refused to let him in. Sadly, that didn't even matter because the guy realized that she was alone and just forced his way in. She saw him trying to break in, so she didn't bother waiting to find out what would happen. Sion Ah quickly ran to the break room and hid there. She didn't even stay there up to an hour before finding out that the guy had turned into a zombie. Upon hearing this story, Song realizes that the zombie he took out when he arrived on this floor must have been the same man. Sion Ah confirms this immediately, and this makes Song wonder if she has a weapon. He asks her and she claims that she does, showing him the wooden spear sitting in a corner. The MC takes a closer look at the weapon when she brings it out, and it's pretty familiar to him. It looks similar to what Choi Jae-sung had when they came across each other. Song asks if it's a mop, and she admits that it is, revealing that she sharpened it herself with a box cutter. Apparently, it's even more useful than she thought it would be, and Song just finds it pretty intriguing as she explains. He can see the blood stains all over the sharp end and figures that she must have dealt with some zombies before as well. Clearly, she knows how to handle herself in this apocalypse, else she wouldn't still be alive right now. However, Song still fears for her. He feels that she's a huge risk because women aren't exactly known for their physical strength, and in a world like this, he thinks that having a lady as his only ally might be a major disadvantage to him. While all of this is running through his mind, the clueless lady criticizes her weapon, wishing that it would be shorter and thinner. Song Jin-song stares at her with his reservations circling all around in his mind. He knows just how dangerous this apocalypse is because now, they're not being hunted by zombies alone, but by other people as well. In these conditions, having a wrong partner can easily go wrong, so he's afraid that Son Ah might just end up being a liability to him if he's not careful. After pondering on the situation for a while, he finally decides to continue by himself. He suggests that he'd soon be on his way, but of course, Sion Ah doesn't like the sound of that. Before he can take another step, she grabs his hand to stop him and then looks him dead in the eyes before asking if he's really going to leave her. At this point, Song knows that he won't be able to avoid the difficult conversation, so he just starts by telling her how sorry he is. As soon as he says this, the lady already knows what he's implying, so she starts to panic. She begs him not to leave her, afraid that she won't be able to make it on her own, but Song just pulls away from her grasp and apologizes once again. He's clearly made up his mind about her, so he starts walking away a second time. However, Sion Ah isn't one to give up so easily, so just when he's about to leave, she reveals that she used to fence. She says this in an attempt to change his mind, but the MC doesn't seem convinced, so she assures him that it's true, determined to prove that she's not a liability. She shows him the bloody wooden spear, revealing that she was the one who cleared out all the zombies on the 6th floor. It's pretty clear that she's not bluffing because she's even ready to show him all the corpses she left behind if he wants, and of course, this leaves Song baffled. The angry lady tells him that he'll regret leaving her behind, and she's very confident about this. The MC suddenly begins to have second thoughts, especially when she informs him that she was a silver medalist in fencing at the National Sports Festival. Sure, it was a long time ago, when she was a high school sophomore, but her skills are probably still pretty sharp. After hearing all of this, Song Jin-song reconsiders his plan, and after thinking for a while, he agrees to team up with her. Not long after that, the two get ready to set out, and Son Ah brings out a backpack with all the clothes and food she could find in the place. Hearing this, Song asks if she got power banks in there, but she didn't think about that because she thought they would be useless. After all, the last time she checked, the internet was down. At this point, our guy informs her that there's something called Spacelink, explaining that it's a means of satellite communication. Upon hearing this, realizes that they'll need all the power banks they can find. While finalizing their preparations, Song asks if she knows how many zombies she came across in total. So, she reveals that there were 8, but adding the one our guy took out makes it 9. Just then, finds the power banks, but while she's being all excited about that, our guy is busy trying to wrap his head around the fact that she killed 8 zombies by herself. It's definitely very impressive, so all of a sudden, he's feeling very glad to have teamed up with her. Was only able to find 2 power banks in the end, so she puts them in her bag and gets ready to set out. She asks if it's time to leave, but Song notices something strange that catches his attention. There are some weird marks on the door, so he asks her about them. Upon seeing the marks, remembers that the guy who broke in the previous day was trying to smash the door, so she feels that the scratches were from a desk or something. Sure, that's one theory, but our guy isn't convinced. The marks are way too small and precise to have come from a table, so he scans the room for answers and eventually finds the exact tool that created the marks. Upon seeing it, identifies the vernier caliper in Song's hand. Our guy is really excited to have found it because it's a solid chunk of metal that he could use as a weapon. He's pretty confident that it wouldn't break as easily as the golf clubs, but just points out how short it is. He'll need to get real close to the zombies if he wants it to be effective, but that doesn't have to be the case because suddenly comes up with an idea. A few moments later, we see holding the newly modified weapon with a sense of pride. She straps the caliper to the blunt edge of her stick to create a longer and more dangerous spear. She hands it over to Song, suggesting that it should be very useful, and he agrees, looking really impressed. As far as he is concerned, this is just great because he can stab with it like a spear and also use it to poke like the caliper. Reveals that she made it into some kind of pole axe, pointing out that this is one of the perks of bringing her along. Seeing what she tinkered in just a few minutes, Song genuinely thanks her. When the number of people increases, it's not just the number of people to fight with that grows, but other things like this are good too. Eventually, our guy combines the food in his bag with what already had, so he believes that they won't have to worry about food for a while. That's a good development, but he can't shake the feeling of confusion when he finds the frying pan with her. He asks her what she's doing with it, and that's when she reveals that she brought it to get a refund but forgot about it. Apparently, she didn't like the color, but at least now it can be of use because Song thinks they can use it to melt snow for water later on. Is glad to have teamed up with another survivor, but she still doesn't get how he knew she was there. It was like he already knew she was hiding there before she made it obvious. Seeing her confusion, the MC tells her about the man who tipped him off from the building across. Apparently, didn't have any idea about this. She didn't even notice the building he's talking about, so Song tells her how the man there signaled him with a light before asking to team up. He shows her the picture he took on his phone, and after reading the part about teaming up, she gets a little nervous. She's not sure if that will be a good idea, and Song doesn't know either. Teaming up with a stranger is definitely risky, and this is what the both of them are worried about right now. Is really bothered about that. It's the reason why she desperately wanted to go with Song. She knew that it would be difficult to find someone she can trust, and in the current situation, our guy is the only one she's willing to go with. Makes this very clear to Song, and he understands perfectly, so he decides that they're not going to team up with the people across the way. Hearing this, the lady is pretty relieved, so she thanks him for considering her opinion. Now that they've gotten that out of the way, she informs him that their manager might actually still be alive. Song is taken aback by this, but has a very strong feeling about it. Manager Choi is currently on a different floor as far as she knows, because when the apocalypse first started, she was trapped with him on the 6th floor. That was before he ran away though. At first, was in the break room back then while Manager Choi was in the bathroom. The man had asked for her help then, but she ignored him because she was still too scared. It was later that she confirmed that he had escaped, but now, she doesn't know where he went. The manager ran away on the 2nd night from what she remembers. Since then, she's been to the 4th, 2nd and 1st floors, which means that the fat man can only be in 2 places if he's not been turned into a zombie yet. Assuming Manager Choi didn't move, then he should either be on the 3rd or 5th floor. With everything going on, Song can't help but think about the other survivors in the building across. If the people there don't get a response from him and then they'll probably try to team up with Manager Choi. That won't exactly be a good development, because there's a chance that the other survivors and the manager will come after him and If they grow their numbers, it's only a matter of time before they infiltrate and overpower these two. Song thinks deeply about this, knowing that it's a likely possibility with the way things are going. It makes him wonder how he and Sion will respond if this happens, but he's not able to figure out an answer. As such, he decides not to bother himself with the external factors that they can't even control. As much as things can go south from here, there are still things that could be considered a silver lining. For starters, he has one more coin now, which means that they can buy some more cold weather gear. With this in mind, Song immediately opens the floating shopping window where he sees the available items. Right now, he's desperate to get a warm hat because it would definitely make him feel less cold. So, using the extra coin he recently got, he decides to purchase the hat. Now, this would make him pretty comfortable, but it's a different story for Sion, whose feet are already starting to freeze inside her shoes. If she gets frostbite on her feet and can't move, then she'll just become a burden to him. That's the last thing he needs right now, so it's logical in many ways to choose the boots over the warm hat. For this reason, he changes his mind and goes for the big furry boots instead. But just when he's about to click the button, he starts to reconsider his choices. He's reluctant to use his last 3 coins for this, especially since all he can think about right now is how gold he is. Sure, he feels pretty selfish at the moment, but he can't help it. Since they're not on the move currently, he figures that the boots are probably not that urgent. Besides, she's got a blanket covering her, so he figures that the difficult decision can wait. With this in mind, he just rolls over, feeling that he can choose later. The next morning, he wakes up to see Sion looking really frustrated as she struggles with her phone. He asks her how much battery she has left, and that's when she realizes that he's woken up. Well, waking up early has become the usual since his body has refused to adapt to this unbearable cold. Now that he's up, he asks if she remembered to charge all the batteries she found the previous night. Apparently, the only one she didn't charge is the one that Song left behind, so now her phone battery is at 22%. All of a sudden, Sion remembers that there's supposed to be a solar generator up on the rooftop, so she asks him if he's ever checked it out. Clearly he hasn't, because he didn't even have any idea about that. He'd probably have gone up to use it if he was aware, so he just stares at her in bemusement when she brings it up. The reason she's aware of this is because she was in charge of the solar generator for a little while due to a support project linked with a small business. Back then, they installed it on the rooftop, but it was halted after a flaw was discovered even before it went on sale. Song is pretty curious when she mentions some about a flaw, but she admits that she doesn't even know exactly what happened. Sion does have the details, but she knows that it wasn't a safety issue. At this point, he simply asks her the most important question, which is whether she knows how to operate it. Thankfully, she does, since she was in charge of it for some time. Hearing this, our guy suggests that they go check it out right away. Shortly after, the two make their way to the rooftop where the snowstorm is still raging. They manage to force open the door even with the heap of snow there. It wasn't easy, but they did it, so afterward they take some time to catch their breaths. Now, Song looks up, asking if the solar generator is really up there, which she confirms once again. From our guy's experience, there's usually a temporary ladder attached to one of the metal platforms, but he can't find it right now. Thankfully, Xian spots it in time and then shows it to him. They go over to it, but Song immediately realizes that it's stuck. The ladder isn't coming down despite his best efforts. The ice must have frozen the ladder up there, so Song suggests that they'll just have to climb up like that. It's definitely not going to be an easy climb, and the lady isn't even sure that Song can go up to handle it. He doesn't say anything when she asks him, which suggests that he can't, so she volunteers to climb up and asks him to hold her up. Of course, he doesn't mind helping her, so he jacks her up on the count of 3, and she floats up to the top with ease afterward. Song watches her climb so gracefully and starts to see the athleticism she was talking about earlier. After a few seconds, he calls out to her, asking if she's seen the solar generator. At first, she doesn't see anything, but after a little digging through the snow, she finds the big solar panels lying there, so she lets him know that she's seen them. Sure, it's not very big, but she's still pretty excited to find it still there in good condition. Since it's small enough, she can take it apart to bring it down, but she'll need Song to catch it to avoid it getting damaged. Our guy assures her that he can handle that, so she slides down the first solar panel to him. Of course, he's in place and easily catches it. Song then passes the second, third, and fourth one to him. He catches all of them, and shortly after that, the lady comes back down to help him set them up. It takes time a while, but they eventually mount the panels for the generator. It was pretty tough, so they're both panting by the time they're done. From the look of things, Song thinks they should be done, and she confirms this, stating that the installation is now complete. It should normally be installed outside, but they can't do that with all the snow settling on the panels. It's fairly bright enough so Song wonders if the efficiency will be high with all the clouds in the sky. From what she remembers, the generator could charge a phone to 50% when the sun shines brightly. But that's if they collected power for half a day. Sadly, the sun is barely out right now, so they'll have to wait a while to see any results. Our guy plugs in the phone at 1%, and by the next day, they come back to meet a pretty underwhelming battery level of 9%. As you can imagine, this is extremely disappointing. Apparently, the voltage is so low that the estimated charging time is 12 days to get to 100%. And so, the MC doesn't even know what to think. As you can imagine, Song and Sion I are pretty disappointed when they see the extremely low battery level. The lady can't believe that they could only get 8% of battery life after charging the phone overnight. She's not the only one feeling this way though, since Song is also really pissed that they went through all that trouble the previous day just to get such a poor result. His thoughts are suddenly interrupted when he notices Son rubbing her cold feet against each other to get some warmth. As much as he wishes so much that he could solve all of this, he knows that there's actually nothing they can do since the sun isn't even out yet. The lady claims that she actually expected something like this, but even at that, it still feels really disheartening to see it unfold like this. Sure, right now things are looking pretty bleak, but our guy believes that there's still hope. After seeing what happened, he feels that they can be positive because he's actually learned something new from it. Of course, Sion I is very curious when she hears him say this because she has no idea what he could be talking about. She expresses her curiosity, and that's when he reveals that he knows where they'll go after they leave the office. At first, the lady doesn't understand what he means by this, but then in a flash, it suddenly clicks for her. Apparently, her guess is absolutely right because for some reason Song plans for them to go to the company's warehouse next. He's convinced that by doing so, they'll be able to find a good number of tools needed for survival along with some more food to keep going. After he breaks down the plan to Sion, she assures him that she's very much in support of the idea. Great. They're on the same page, but there's one major problem holding them back, which is the fact that our guy doesn't even know how they're supposed to get to the warehouse from the office they're in. If the car GPS doesn't work, then they'll have to find their way with just a phone, and there's already a glaring obstacle with this method, since they don't have enough battery life for that kind of mission. Song is pretty stumped at this point because he's not sure if it would even be wiser to draw a map on paper instead. He ponders deeply on the matter, but Son quickly interrupts his brainstorming session by telling him that he shouldn't even be bothered about that. She walks over to him and of course he's taken aback by what she just said. Song turns around to look at her with a look of bemusement plastered on his face, and that's when she informs him that the company house is actually close to her house. That being said, she knows exactly where the place is because she used to see it often whenever she was out for a walk. Son explains all this to the MC and assures him that he doesn't have to worry about finding his way there. Of course, this is amazing news for our guy since he was already beating himself up about it. He's relieved when she tells him all this and starts confessing how glad he is to have met her. Obviously, that makes both of them because even the lady was starting to feel hopeless when she was still all alone, but now that she has a goal, she feels a lot stronger. Looking back now, Song realizes that it was a really good decision to team up with San The lady has proven to be very useful in such a short time. She knows how to do a lot of things and takes on the hard work. Even now, he can tell that her feet must be freezing, but she's never once tried to take his boots, which he finds really impressive. With all of this in mind, he finally decides to get her those winter boats he's been contemplating on. All of a sudden, he calls out to her, and when she turns to him wistfully, he asks her what her shoe size is. As you can imagine, this question came out of the blue, so she is pretty taken aback. She doesn't get where he's going with this, so she expresses her curiosity. Of course, Song isn't keen on telling her about the floating shopping window, so he just tells her that he came across some boots earlier, claiming that he'd like to give them to her if they fit. Siana said that she wasn't cold the other day on the roof, but our guy knows that it's probably not true. He offers to get her the winter shoes and without any hesitation, she excitedly reveals that she's a size 230. Seeing the look on her face, Song is relieved that she's happy. Still feeling all excited, she asks if she can go with him to get the shoes, but he quickly tells her that he'll rather go by himself. Obviously, the winter shoes are not really in the building, so he tells her to wait and dashes off. Not long after, we see San trying on the new pair of white winter shoes, and she's really glad to see that they fit perfectly. Meanwhile, the MC receives some good news when a message from the system suddenly appears in front of him. It turns out that a party has just been formed, and as he reads further, we see that it's a party of two. That's him and San. Besides that, the coins acquired by party members are automatically his, which is definitely a good thing. Despite being pretty excited, Seong is also quite puzzled. This is the first time he's seen something like this, so he wonders if the shop window was just the beginning of something much bigger. If that's the case, then gaining more party members would be a huge advantage. Song figures all of this out pretty quickly, but he's still not sure why it's happening now all of a sudden. It makes him wonder if it's because he gave her an item for the shop as a gift. Song ponders deeply on all this while the clueless lady keeps thanking him for his kindness. Anyway, from the look of things, it seems like he might just be able to increase the number of members of this party. Right now, he's lost in thought, wondering if other features get added too since the shopping window probably wasn't the only mysterious thing around. He's so engrossed in this matter that he doesn't even realize that has been trying to get his attention. She's been calling out to him for a couple minutes, but he doesn't hear her, so she finally gets fed up and goes closer to him. Obviously, she can't see the floating window, so when Song finally answers her, she asks him if he's actually okay. She informs him that he zoned out all of a sudden, which got her concerned. Hearing this, our guy quickly claims that he is just a little dizzy, suggesting that it's because he hasn't been eating well lately. This makes sense, so figures that they should probably eat something before it turns into a problem. Song realizes that hasn't noticed anything yet, which makes him pretty curious. It's starting to look like he's still the only one who can see the floating windows, even though he's formed a party with her. He's not sure, so he decides to just watch closely for the meantime. With this in mind, he supports I's idea, claiming that he'll feel better after eating something. Days pass and the Ice Age apocalypse extends to 2 weeks. It's the 14th day of being trapped in the zombie-infested building, and it's also been 3 days since their water ran out. At this point, our guy is starting to find his thirst unbearable, so he's desperate for any water he can find. Song looks like he's about to lose his mind as a result of the thirst, and I is no different, so it becomes clear that they need to melt some snow. The lady agrees with him and decides to go get the papers and documents that she came across earlier. She springs into action, so the MC does the same. As desperate as he is, he still knows that they should probably light the fire on the rooftop since they wouldn't want to have to deal with flames inside. That being said, he picks up a table and heads up to the roof to make a spot for the fire. Soon enough, they are outside and Song is going through the papers and documents that brought with her. While he's at it, he keeps thinking of the risks involved with what they're about to do. If they light a fire outside, then the smoke will likely attract the plunderers who have been in hiding. Song is aware that there are people who mainly roam in groups, committing all forms of crimes from robbery to sexual assault to even murder. The MC didn't want to do anything that could catch the attention of the people in the building next door, but he's way too thirsty and cold right now, so he can't take it anymore. That being said, he creates a decent spot and finally starts the fire by lighting up the papers. As you can imagine, the heat from the flames is absolutely amazing to the both of them. It's so surreal, and Song is still really excited that they managed to achieve this. As for the warmth from the fire makes her feel alive again for the first time in days. Soon enough, the snow that they gathered begins to melt, and so she happily informs Song that they now have water. It doesn't take long for the pan of ice to be filled with water, so the two of them get their little cups and start drinking. As soon as Song takes his first sip, his eyes widen in amazement because he realizes how long it's been since he has warm water. I is so delighted as well because she had forgotten that this kind of warmth even existed in the world. After a while, she tells Song how glad she is that they didn't give up, and our boy just says the same thing. Things are really starting to look up from here, so our guy suggests that they keep working together this way, hopeful that they can make it to the end of this apocalypse. The story continues on the morning of the 15th day since they got stuck in the company building. I is the first to get up, so she tries to wake him up too. For some reason, she's panicking, so Song is pretty startled when he wakes up. She tells him that he needs to get up, so he asks her wrong, and that's when she points to something in the distance. Apparently, the people from the other building sent them a message. All the sleepiness vanishes from Song's face when he hears this, and then he asks his partner what exactly the message said. At this point, reveals that the other survivors on that side appear to be coming to them. She explains this to our guy, leaving him in a daze, and then spells out the exact words they used. They literally said that they're going over to the company building to join Song and Our guy immediately gets up from the ground when he hears this and curiously asks her when she saw the note. Apparently, she saw the message a few seconds ago and came to wake him up right after. She believes that they left there after confirming that she has seen their message, so now she believes that they're on their way already. As far as she's concerned, it's only a matter of time before they go out on the street in an attempt to come join them. As you can imagine, our guy doesn't like the sound of this at all. The survivors from the other side must have seen the fire last night and now think that Song has a lot of resources in the company building. Right now, he can't be sure if the other survivors are friendly or if they're actually plunderers, so he doesn't trust them. He makes this very clear to and they both decide not to join the people from across the way since they don't know them. The both of them decide to stay on their own, feeling that it could get dangerous for them, but sadly, this decision isn't theirs alone to make. All of a sudden, spots the people from the other building out on the street. The guys are armed with weapons and their faces are masked, which is really bothersome for our guy. Seeing that the guys are outside already, it's clear that they have to act quickly, so he suggests that they pack their things before the visitors get to them. Meanwhile, downstairs, the armed survivors make their way into the company building, brutally running through all the zombies in their path. Our guy can sense it when they're in the building and finds it shocking that they're moving this quickly. They're fighting the zombies very systematically, and so it's just a matter of time before these intruders catch up with them. At this rate, the armed survivors would get to them in 15 minutes, so the MC packs his things to get the hell out. After grabbing his stuff, he checks on Sa-an-ah to see if she's done, but she's not. Meanwhile, back outside, the other survivors suddenly begin to get overwhelmed with the number of zombies that are coming after them. They're severely outnumbered, and it becomes clear that they can't keep out all the monsters, so they decide to run for their lives instead. The intruders take a break from fighting and burst through the glass doors of the building to escape the zombies. Of course, when our guy sees this, he begins to panic even more. He curses in frustration because now the other guys are going to reach them even sooner. Desperate to escape, he turns to check on San-ah again. He asks if she's okay when he sees her crouched down to the ground. Apparently, she gathered everything already, but she wasn't able to carry the big solar panels. Sure, they need the panels for energy, but right now, it's only going to slow them down if they try to carry them, so Song tells her to leave them behind. Of course, the lady is reluctant to do this since the panels are the only power supply they have. However, our guy insists that survival comes first. So, after contemplating for a while, she agrees with him and decides to move out. The two grab their stuff along with their weapons and make their way out to the stairway. As soon as they come out, they realize that the other survivors are already coming upstairs. Sadly, now they have another problem because they're not sure if they should go up to the rooftop or down to the lower floors. It would be easier to go up to the roof, and it will also be easier to defend themselves at first. However, if this drags on, they could get stuck up there and the cold would put them at a serious disadvantage. Our boy can already foresee some of the problems that could come with being stuck on the roof, so he decides that it's wiser to go down to the lower floor. Song and San-ah make the way downstairs despite the risk of coming across the intruders. They make it safely to the 6th floor and immediately begin to make preparations. Our boy suggests that they block the entrance immediately and hold their ground to avoid getting caught off guard. Of course, San-ah is ready to give her all, so they both stand guard at the entrance and brace themselves for what is to come. At the same time, the intruders keep advancing and their footsteps are getting a lot louder to the MC. Song tells her to get ready, and that's when he hears the railings vibrating. It's clear now that the intruders are even closer than before, so it's just a matter of time before they find them. San-ah can see everything going on, so she doesn't even need our guy to tell her that the intruders are checking the place in search of any other survivors. At the moment, the armed men are on the 4th floor, tearing apart the entire place to find something. When they don't find anything there, they move up to the 5th floor. Song can sense this, so he knows that the intruders will be on the 6th floor any moment now. Song and his partner have already barricaded the door to prepare for this. They're waiting there for the men to come in, but they're shocked when that doesn't happen. All of a sudden, they can't hear the noises anymore, which leaves them baffled. Song doesn't get why the intruders aren't coming up anymore. The lady can also sense that something feels off, so she begins to panic as well, and while she's still trying to figure out what's going on, the whole place starts to vibrate. Glass shattered all over and the quaking sends our guy falling to the ground. After this happens, San-ah is even more confused. She turns to check if Song is okay and the MC does the same, asking if she's fine. They get back on their feet, hoping to find an answer for what just happened, and the lady suggests that it could have been some kind of explosion. Of course, it seems likely, so this makes Song panic. There are only 2 of them, so he doesn't get why the intruders would even bother with explosives. At that moment, he suddenly remembers the note he found days ago, warning him to avoid the 5th floor. All of a sudden, pieces of the puzzle start falling in place as several memories run through Song's mind. He remembers San-ah telling him that she thinks the section chief is still alive. He remembers that she said that the manager would either be on the 3rd floor or the 5th. And so now, after hearing that explosion from below, it all starts to make sense. Our guy suddenly has an idea and asks the lady to follow him so they can go check the lower floors. As you'd expect, she's taken aback by this idea because this isn't even a good time to take a risk like that. However, the MC is clearly not going back on this decision, so she follows him nervously, wondering if this is going to be okay. In response, our guy insists that everything will be fine because if his guess is correct, then they'll finally be able to find the answers they've been looking for. By the time they get down to the 5th floor, they're astounded by the amount of rubble they come across. There's no doubt that an explosion took place here, so our guy knows that they can't afford to let their guard down now. He tells San-ah to stay sharp, and of course the lady is locked in, just like him. While they're quietly moving down there, they sense something strange. San-ah is the first to notice it, so she calls Song's attention to it. The assistant manager turns to it, and by the time they shine their flashlights in that direction, they're stunned to discover a corpse lying there. From the look of things, these dead bodies have not been lying here for too long, which makes them understand just how dangerous the place is. San-ah begins to panic after seeing the corpse, but our boy knows better than to lose his composure. With this in mind, he decides to go investigate, but first, he tells the lady to stay put and wait for him. It's definitely something to worry about when he sees fresh corpses lying around, but Song chooses to remain calm. It's a truly brutal scene on display, but right now, he's more interested in finding out why there are only 2 dead bodies there. He takes a look around and realizes that there probably aren't any explosives left. He reaches the door and is shocked to find that it's been completely blown away by the explosion. It's pretty scary, but the brave hero goes in anyway to investigate some more. And that's when he begins to hear some voices. The person talking seems to be very upset with his shitty life, and it appears that a group of people are trying to kill him. For some reason, the voice sounds pretty familiar to our guy, and after listening for a while, he realizes that it's Chief Choi talking. With this in mind, our guy confirms that the explosion must have been the old man's doing. So far, that's the only thing Song has been able to confirm, and he still needs to figure out what and who the man is talking to. Determined to get some answers, our guy enters the office and calls out to the section chief curiously. The man sees him and is immediately excited about it. He recognizes our boy as the assistant manager, but then all of a sudden, the look on his face turns into something else. Just then, he starts begging our guy to save him. The man desperately crawls over to our guy asking for help, and that's when Song sees that the guy's leg is gone. He keeps begging him, telling him how much he wants to live. Choi cries out, talking about how unfair life is. Obviously, he doesn't want to die like this, so he's desperate for Song to save him. As you can imagine, our guy is not too keen on getting close to the injured man because he's not even sure of the situation on ground. He stands there dumbfounded and reluctant to go into the dark where the old man is. Just then Son-ai arrives right behind him, curiously asking what's going on. She heard the voice too and recognized it, so now she's wondering if Chief Choi is still alive. She's still talking to Song when the injured man emerges from the darkness once again, looking full of hope now that Son-ai is here. He asks her to remember him, begging her to help him and save him from the clutches of death. She's stunned when she sees the man covered in blood, and as much as she'd like to help, there's not much they can do for him in his condition. Song tells the chief how sorry they are, explaining that they don't have any medicine to help him. Besides, they're not even doctors, so they don't know how to help him. However, the section chief is desperate to live, so nothing they're saying right now even makes any sense to him. He yells at them, insisting that there's a way he can survive, and this leaves the dude pretty confused. Seon-ai is still trying to figure out where the man is going with this when he reveals what he has in mind. Apparently, Choi is so desperate that he feels he won't die if he becomes a zombie. So, he asks them to bring one of the zombies over to him because if he gets infected, then he won't die. The chief knows how difficult that might be for them, so he suggests that they can also take him down to the first floor, where he'll just let himself get bitten. For some reason, he's convinced that this is a good idea, but our guy doesn't even know how to start explaining what a crazy plan it is. The man crawls over to him and holds his hands, hoping that he can convince them to play along with his mad idea. Sadly, Song Seong can't see himself doing it, so he just apologizes to the chief once again, admitting that he can't help him. That being said, he lowers Choi's hand to the floor and creates some distance between them. At this point, the old man is furious, so he curses at them, wondering why the hell they can't help him now. Choi reminds them how he held off the raiders for them and expresses his disappointment that they can't repay the favor. He feels that they're screwing around with him and accuses them of not wanting to save him because they want to shack up together. As far as he's concerned, they're both selfish pieces of shit who don't want to help him. He calls Seon-ai a dirty bitch for flirting with him before and now hanging on to another guy. The man feels slighted, and since they don't want to help him, he doesn't mind if they all die together. One of the bombs didn't go off earlier, which means he still has one explosive left to use on them. At this point, it's clear that he's about to do something absolutely insane, but before he can even finish making his threats, he gets stabbed to death with the wooden spear. After dealing with Chief Choi, the duo take a look around the place and realize that those guys who came around were really raiders. It's clear that those people wanted to take their stuff because the bags they came with were totally empty. They check the weapons the guys came with and notice that the shield is broken from the explosion and can't be used. Besides that, the hammer they left behind is too heavy to carry, so now Song is conflicted. The MC carries all of the weapons while Son-ai keeps checking the bags. He looks at how messed up the place is, with the shattered glass everywhere, and suddenly says that the plunderers would have died anyway. This catches the lady off guard, so she asks him what he's talking about. As you can imagine, she still feels pretty bad that they had to kill the chief, so to hear Song say this leaves her puzzled. Seeing the look on her face, he states that Manager Choi would have died either ways from the blood loss. He would have slowly gone into shock from the excessive blood loss, so he believes that they reduced the old man's suffering by letting him die early. That being said, he assures her that there's no need to feel guilty. As far as Song is concerned, this is the best way things could have gone for them, because even if they helped him to become a zombie, they'd still have no choice but to kill him. It's pretty harsh, but it's the truth and a reality that they have to get used to. Son-ai stares at him, looking all dazed, but then after a while, she breaks the silence and agrees with him. She feels that he's absolutely right, and so she stops feeling bad about what happened. Soon enough, they get back to their mission to survive and they arrive at one of the shattered windows. Son-ai looks out the window and spots something crazy. It's a horde of zombies swarming out on the street. Later on, Song checks his phone for updates on the situation, wondering if anyone else felt the explosion. It was pretty huge, so he feels that the others should have sensed it too. Sure enough, they heard it, and they're also aware that it came from the Taesung Trading Building, which is where our boy has been since the apocalypse started. The people are aware of what happened, but nobody knows why it happened. The community knows that they started a fire too, which makes them a target now. Of course, this makes our guy really worried because now that it's a topic in the community, other raiders will come flocking too. On top of that, the zombies that swarmed outside are also a problem. Song has been watching everything since the day before, and while the zombies are spreading out again over time, most of them are still remaining. The lobby probably doesn't even have room to step. Now it's clear that they can't hesitate and let them occupy the emergency exit too. He figures that they leave at the earliest, the day after at the latest. Hearing this, Sean I is once again on board. It sounds like a good plan to her, and since they're on the same page, Song suggests that they go check the situation on the first floor. The MC picks up his flashlight and Seon Ah does the same. They strap the lights on their heads to help them see properly. After walking for a while, the lady stops all of a sudden because she hears a strange sound all of a sudden. By this time, they both hear a loud bang and Song figures that it must be coming from upstairs. They stare at each other at this point, unsure of what is to come, but they have to check it out, so our brave hero takes the lead. He takes a peek and sees a zombie walking around in the room. This makes Son Ah begin to panic all of a sudden, so Song quickly shuts the door. She begins to freak out, fearing that Choi could be in there, but our guy knows that it's the guilt talking right now. So, he assures her that it's not possible for Choi to be there. His head was pierced through, so even if he got infected later, he would still die. Still, she can't get herself to calm down. She's afraid that one of the raiders got bitten on a lower floor, but Song assures her that it's not the case. If that was true, they probably would have turned into a zombie by the time they arrived. That being said, Song suggests that it's probably a survivor from the 3rd floor that went up to the 5th floor. It's either that, or something came in through the broken window on the 5th floor. Of course, the latter would be way too bad for them to deal with, so the two of them decide to assume that it's the former. Now that they have this idea, the MC suggests that they go back down to the 1st floor. The hero never imagined that the situation would get this bad. It's right to say the 1st floor has been completely overrun, so this makes him remember the security room where he spent some time. He wonders what the assistant manager Choi Jae-sung is doing. If he was in the security room, he would have heard and felt the explosion closer than anyone. With this in mind, he realizes that going out that way would actually be suicide. At this point, Seon Ah suggests going out through the underground parking garage. Thankfully, our guy was thinking the same thing, so they head down that way. There were no zombies when they checked before, but that might have changed, so he reminds her to be alert. Sure enough, there are several zombies down there now, but there aren't too many. There are about 10, which is a lot fewer than what's in the lobby. The place is filled with cars because everyone left their cars when the snowstorm started. The duo can use this to their advantage because there are plenty of cars they can use as cover. Besides that, the zombies might not even smell them either if they move quickly since it's underground. Just then, our guy notices a reflection in a mirror and asks Seon Ah if she can make out what's in it. His eyesight isn't that good, so he can't see it properly. Seon Ah can't see that much better than him, but she can see that the frequency of zombies on the other passage is similar to what they have on this side. This feedback is enough for our guy to make a decision, and so he suggests that they go up to the 7th floor for now. Later on, the two get some rest, and while they're waiting there, Seon Ah talks about how much better it would be if they could just travel by car. Sadly, this might not work because the batteries in most of the cars would have died since they've been sitting in the cold for over 2 weeks. The car option isn't going to work, so she wishes that they could use bicycles. Sadly, there are none, so they'll just have to walk. Once that's out of the way, the two get back to planning their escape with a map. After they're done making plans, they try to get some rest, but the cold is absolutely freezing with a temperature of minus 35 degrees. Neither of them are able to sleep in these conditions, so after shivering violently for a while, Son Ah finally decides to break the silence. She asks Song if he's still awake, and he answers, even though it's obvious. Well, he's been tossing and turning all night, so she could tell that he hasn't been able to sleep. Besides the cold, she can sense that he's worried about something and feels that it's probably because he's been thinking about the person on the 1st floor. He's worried about Jae-sung and he admits it, so Son Ah tells him that he can go bring the guy if he wants. However, the MC doesn't take this offer because he knows that doing that could endanger their lives. Right now, she's his only ally in this apocalypse and he can't risk losing her. But then again, he just feels bad because Jae-sung seemed trustworthy. Hearing this, Seon Ah admits that it's unfortunate that the person is someone he trusts. She reminds him that there will probably be more dangerous situations once they go outside, insinuating that they hold on to anyone they can trust. As soon as our guy hears this, he asks if she'd be okay if Jae-sung joined them, and she assures him that she doesn't mind. Hearing this, our guy gets on his feet like he's just made a decision and quickly picks up his phone. He tells her that he's going to use his phone for a while, so she can turn away if the screen is too bright. Son Ah doesn't mind, of course, so she gives him room to do so. Song opens his chat with Jae-sung and sends a message, asking the guy to meet up with him at the emergency exit on the 1st floor at 6 a.m. if he is planning to escape the building. The next day, which is 17 days since the apocalypse started, our boy and his partner get ready for the big move. It's 5:40 am and Song is anxiously waiting to hear from Jae-sung. There's still no response from his fellow assistant manager. He's disappointed when he sees this, but Ah reminds him that they might be waiting for him at the emergency exit, urging him to go with him and stay positive. So, they too make their way down the building from the 5th floor to the 3rd, and finally to the 1st floor. By the time they get to the emergency exit, there's no one else there, which just confirms what Song has been worrying about. Still, they wait for a while, and 3 minutes after the appointed time, they're still not joined by anyone. Ah knows that this is important to him, so she asks if he'd like to wait a while longer. Of course he does, so they wait for 2 more minutes, and by the time it's 6:05 am, there's still no one that comes around. Now at this point, it's time for our boy to make the difficult choice. That's it for this episode. Until next time.